Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, and welcome to episode 312 of the H.A.M Radio Podcast.
And I'm Dustin with Last Stand Media. How are you, Matty?
Doing all right.
Fine Friday.
I'm very tired for a Friday. I got to be honest. I told you before this I was moving some furniture. I've been not getting excellent sleep this week, and just overall feeling stressed. Sometimes you're just stressed for no reason. That's me. And so
I know this feeling.
Yeah, I think I'm just coming down from a emotional high, and it's just like, okay, like I'm settling in, and for me that takes a while, and so here we are now, a couple of weeks later, and it's like, whew, all right, because I was like I said, I was moving my girlfriend and stuff, so it was just a lot, and now here we are on the other end, and it's like now I'm decompressing, unwinding. How are you though?
I'm doing pretty good. My parents are here for a couple of days, and so we've been hanging out with them. And, you know, Matty, the sleep thing is weird. The thing for me lately is it doesn't matter if I sleep 7 hours or 9 hours. I wake up groggy. I can't. It's hard for me to get out of bed, and the amount of sleep doesn't matter. And this is a new thing over the last, I don't know, it's probably been about a month now that I've been like this. And I'm like, it didn't used to be like this. Like I was I was able to like get out of bed pretty easily, but I don't know whether it's like I changed my diet up the past for last 2 weeks. I've been eating sort of on a diet, but mainly just like being more conscious, like not going nuts eating stuff all the time or whatever. Basically, like my form of dieting is just like, okay, for lunch, eat I've been eating for lunch, I'll eat over easy eggs with toast, which is a great little protein focused lunch. And then no snacks throughout the day. And then I'll just eat like a moderate dinner. Right. So that's my form of dieting. And it actually works out pretty well. But I don't know. I'm like, would that affect my sleep? Maybe not. I don't know.
Right? Yeah, I've had the same problem of getting out of bed. It's just it's definitely been tougher as of late, and it's hard to sometimes pinpoint why, whether it be circumstances at home or just general lack of motivation for me. But it's just it's funny that we both find ourselves in the same spot. It's been tough. I think for us, it's because June is such a high, right? Like it really is. Like everyone's excited consistently, and there's so much happening. And then now we're feeling what we haven't felt for a while, which is there's that lull afterwards where nothing really happens. It's very quiet. Everyone's sort of doing their thing for the summer, and for at least myself, I notice I feel typically lower in July and August, and then pick back up in the holiday. I go with the seasons of games, baby. That's what happens.
Yeah. It's fine though, Matty. We'll snap out of this. We're YouTubers. We only work a few hours a week, and then just play games all that other time. Yeah. So we just gotta snap.
Yeah. In my copious amounts of free time, I'm sure I'll find some happiness. Ladies and gentlemen, this episode of H.A.M Radio Podcast is going to be a little bit different. By the way, if you want to support it, there's a Patreon linked down below. Very important you go there. Early access to the show. We also just launched this past week The Life and Death of Dead Space. It is a very long-term project I spent time on with Kopi. We edited the shit out of this thing. Lots of skits in there. It's about 28 minutes long. Our longest project yet for the Life and Death series, which because of everyone's support on the Sly Cooper episode, I was like, all right, we'll do another one. And we picked Dead Space, and then Dead Space came back to life. So we were like, all right, I guess it's a good time to really fire away on this one. And I'm holding it right now. It's on the Patron for early access where you can go check it out. It's available to everyone because all patrons help make it possible because we spend a lot of money on these videos. But I'm holding it as well because it's been such a low month in July for my channel, which typically happens where I'm like, I don't want to send this video out to die, right? So holding it a little bit longer than I think I typically would. But it is available there. If you don't want to pay, that's fine. Can wait for the free version, but I think it's worth paying for. But this episode will run a bit different, as I was saying, compared to our usual H.A.M Radio podcast. Normally we do the hottest news, but me and Dustin were talking, And we were really looking up and down the news list. We talked about Activision Blizzard and everything that's going on last week. There's been more updates on that. But beyond that, there's some Netflix reports on Dragon Age and Pokemon, and really not much has commanded the news cycle. And so as the Activision story develops, we will talk about that more. But for now, I was like, why don't we just do this week an episode on everything we're playing? We were thinking like, hey, how much games are we playing? And it seems like there's a lot. So we're going to do that and make it an episode really about the patrons, the patron questions, and try something a bit different. And that's kind of one of the things about H.A.M that I think is so great is while it is a brand name for the channel, it doesn't really have an identity per se. You can mold it into whatever we need. So we're going to mold it into a games discussion this week and just talk about everything we've been going through. Before that, Dustin, just because I've done my general housekeeping, is anything that you want to make the audience aware of for Last Stand or Dustin's streams?
No, I'm streaming away at Demon Souls over on my Twitch channel, just because that's one of the few Souls games that I haven't streamed yet. And other than that, man, like, you're right. The news, I'm looking through to see, I'm like, surely there's something worth talking about from the news this week.
There's like little tidbits like Games with Gold, PS Plus, and I'm like, no one listens to our show for that. We typically grab the hot topics and then just move on.
The only thing that I am finding a little interesting that maybe we can just talk about briefly and then move into, just because I'm curious what you think about this, is that the PS5 beta firmware that enables the expansion slot, and I've seen people dunking on this on Twitter. So basically, they're finally opening up that M.2 expansion slot, but there's a lot of caveats. Like, they're like, this is what the specs the drive needs, that it has to be, and if it's not that, and they're like, even if it hits these specs, we can't guarantee it'll work. Right now, they either have like one or two that they're like, we know that these ones work. And so the conversation
real quick, not to interrupt you, but why don't they just make like a branded PlayStation one that works with it? You think that someone coming in to buy one wouldn't know this, right?
Right. I'm guessing that is the plan.
You'd hope
but
so.
Right now, with it being beta, I think that they're hoping that people will test out more drives for them and they can use that as info. But it's just been funny because I agree with it somewhat. There's a lot of people that are like, man, Xbox, not only the drive is cheaper and you just plug it in. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like, Xbox is the way you upgrade is much more elegant. You just buy it, you plug it in. But
same
on
thing
the other
with the
hand,
games, it seems too, through smart delivery.
So
interesting consistency there.
I guess for me though, it just, people were laughing about how there's weird incompatibility and they vary select drives, and I'm like, guys, the PS5 SSD is one of the main selling features because of how it's bespoke. It's faster. I mean, we saw this play out with a third-party game just recently with Resident Evil, where it loaded significantly faster on PS5. So that is one of the things about how, like, I'm trying to remember, it's either like the SSD chips, not only is there like a really strong or high bandwidth throughput, but like they're on the motherboard and like it's custom. So I'm not surprised that there's strict compatibility, that some of them might not even run as fast or make your game slightly slower. So that'll be interesting though. I wonder if some people start putting some of these like drives in, and then during a game like Ratchet and Clank, are you going to see stutters from when the SSD, if you're running it off that? It'll be very interesting.
Yeah, I think the testing will be quite revealing for that. That's a good point. I never even thought of that. With such strict compatibility, what kind of errors can pop up with particular games making full use of it?
Right. And did you see they're revamping the trophy system? Or the way it looks, not system.
Okay, that's great.
They're making it so it's now like a proper list, like on PS4. You'll be able to pin specific trophies to your cards, so you can like follow along, like, and see your progress.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Very good.
And then there was one other thing too, but I don't know. They
had 10 million units sold. I saw that.
Yeah,
that was good.
Dude, that's the thing. And maybe this is a good way to end this. Is just that 10 million for PS5. It's the fastest selling PlayStation hardware, and alongside that, the Xbox Series X and S are the fastest selling Xbox hardware.
Yep.
So video games are doing very, very well right now, no matter what camp you're in. So it's exciting. It's good to see a healthy industry.
I agree. Very well said.
But Maddie,
yeah, let's talk
about the games we're playing.
Okay.
I'm trying to think from games that I can talk about the least to the most, or what should we start the most first?
I'd say start with the most, because then we can use the least as like a round out, and then just move into patron questions.
So, Maddie, last week I asked you about a game that if you had played called Ender Lillies Quietus of the Nights.
Okay.
You had said you'd heard of it but not checked it out. I said, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm checking it out.
Okay.
So this game, it's from a new studio called Binary Haze Interactive from Japan. This is their very first game.
Wow.
And it is a very impressive first outing. So this is
nice
how they describe it on their Steam page, which I think is pretty good. Ender Lillies is a dark fantasy 2D action RPG about unraveling the mysteries of a destroyed kingdom. So this game is very much in the vein of Castlevania or Hollow Knight or something like that. Okay. So you play as like this small girl, and I'm a little I'm not really sure what's completely going on with the story even a few hours in, but it's not really bothering me because the music and the world and the gameplay are really good. But you control this little girl, but none of your attacks are from her. She has these little spirits that follow her, and so when you press the attack button, they appear and like do like a sword slash or something. So this is a Metroidvania style game, but what this one does, which I don't know if this is wholly unique, I'm sure a different style of game or another game has done this, but basically you go and as you play, you can collect these spirits, which are basically your abilities that you can map to square and triangle, I believe. No, square is your attack. It's triangle and circle that you can map different abilities to.
Right.
And so you go through and you collect these spirits, and the spirits are all upgradable as well. And you can also, I think it's like at the end of certain sections, you can unlock new primary attack spirits. So like I have a sword guy, that's the guy you start with, and then I unlocked like a big hammer that's much slower. But so where it gets interesting is that you can like swap between two ability sets, and so you can kind of create like mini gameplay strategies as you go. So like I had one where my circle would enable this like crow spirit that would like shoot projectiles at guys. And then my triangle was like this really quick sword spin. But another set, I had this ability that did like an AoE attack that was like this like gas poison type effect. So that's one of the cooler aspects that I'm enjoying about it. Just the level of customization in your gameplay is cool. And that's, I think, what sets it apart from Hollow Knight, which Hollow Knight, I mean, is great. You unlock abilities and stuff, but it's like your primary attack, I don't think really changes throughout the game.
Yeah, not that I didn't play it much, but not that I recalled personally.
Right. So, but man, as far as everything else, like this game, who's the studio that did 13 Sentinels?
I know it was published by Atlas. Oh, Vanillaware.
Vanillaware.
Yes.
The visuals of this game slightly have like a Vanillaware feel in that they are drawn 2D characters that you control. So they're not like sprites or 3D or anything. They're like just drawn pictures. And they look great. And the music is also very good too. And so I would highly recommend this game to people that like games like, of course, Hollow Knight or Castlevania or something like that. It can be difficult, but sort of like, I don't want to just say like Dark Souls, because there's a lot of games like this that it's like, if it's too hard, go grind out a little bit, go through and kill a bunch of enemies, you'll level up, and then you'll have a better time. Or rethink your strategy and try different abilities for certain bosses. So, yeah, that's Ender Lillies, and I've just been really enjoying
What
this
system
game.
are you playing this on? Is it only PlayStation or
PlayStation, PC, and also Switch?
Do you think this is like a Switch, like a good Switch game?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It actually probably is better on Switch, just because then if you like, getting up and go. Oh, it's also on Xbox as well.
Good.
I didn't know that.
Good.
So yeah, it's on everything. The only thing that might be a little not budget, but I wish this game had voice acting. Like it's just you're never like sitting there reading, but it feels like it would be better if it had some voice acting.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that can always be what adds that emotional punch.
Right.
Okay, so this game I almost forgot about after our conversation, but I remember when you brought it up, you got me very curious about it, and now I'm even more curious. So you said it's Metroidvania, but it's also got. Does it have Souls-like elements? Because I know you said it's difficult to some extent, but it's not Souls-like in its design.
No, yeah, there's no
like
currency
you don't like when you kill or whatever.
Right. No, the only thing you pick up when you kill an enemy is experience, which it's good. I actually was like playing it and I'm like, I'm glad this doesn't have Souls level anxiety to pickups and death. Like it's kind of nice to just be able to focus on combat in a way. Like
right.
You know what I mean? So that's been a bonus to me and not a detractor.
Yeah, it certainly didn't sound like one. And this is how much is it, by the way? This
25.
25? Okay. You know,
25, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Oh no, just it was 25, and I believe now that it was out on PC first, and now the console versions are in the last like week or two. And yeah, I decided it was weird because I hadn't heard anyone really talk about this game, and I was like, it looks good, but I don't know. And then the Steam reviews were overwhelmingly positive.
Yes,
I thought,
I
you know
was
what?
looking at that.
Was
this a blind buy for Dustin? Did you go in and go like, all right, let's do this?
Yeah, it was a blind buy in that, yeah, I think I've taken for granted in a way. I want to say this the right way, is that I remember Colin being a real champion for Shovel Knight when it was before it released, right? And like being an advocate, and that really helped. I don't think I have anywhere near the reach of Colin, but I thought, here's a game that appears to be really good, and I'm not seeing anyone talk about it, and it's appealing to me. I want to check it out, and I think it would be appealing to a lot of the audience. So it's like, you know what? Who needs to hear my opinion about Death's Door? Everyone knows Death's Door is great. I really want to play Death's Door very badly, but I thought this looks really good too, and this could be an opportunity to share a game with the world in a way.
No, good for you. And that's a mindset I've shared for quite a while. Is part of it's because I always believed it was a decent idea for growth is talk about the thing others aren't talking about. You run the risk of no one searching that, kind of like the cold streak I've run into where it seems like everywhere I go, it's like, no one's really interested in that or that or that. So you do have the chance of hitting that, but more times than not, I've found success in. I remember one of the biggest surprises. It's gonna sound a little off topic, but it gets back to what you were discussing there. Is Gothic was doing, and they still are doing, a remake of the original game, and they were saying, "Hey, we're doing this demo, and if you want us to do a remake, we need this amount of downloads and this amount of people to give us feedback." And the only way you could access it is if you bought one of the Gothic games or something from Piranha Bytes. And I think the cheapest was Gothic 3 at like $10. So I thought to myself, all right, so I'm about to spend $10 to get into this thing, try it out, to maybe make a video on it. I remember making it, and the video blew up. It did like over 200K. And it was a very cool moment of, I was one of the only people. I think there was one other YouTuber at the time who talked about it because I was alerted to it after my video went live. And I was thinking to myself, like, that was a cool moment. I'm glad I took that leap, because then they could, not because of me, by the way, but they eventually then confirmed, like, yeah, we're going forward with the remake. And I'm like, I feel like maybe I played a little part in that. Like, maybe I helped get it there. And so I think you're underestimating your reach. You're on the biggest PlayStation podcast. You're here on Ham. We have an all right sized audience. You're Dustin Furman. I think your more conservative approach helps as well. Where I think a lot of people will check out Ender Lillies because of you.
Yeah, it's weird, Matty. I mean, you took me under your wing before Colin did. Honestly, I mean, Colin. I was working for Colin, but in a public way, I should say, as far as like being on shows.
Yeah.
So it's been an adjustment for me to think about, like, when I talk about games, sometimes people go buy them.
Yeah.
Like I'll get tweets from people that was like, I checked out this game because of you and it's great. And it's like,
it's the best. I think it's the best thing that ever shows up in my mentions is when someone tries a game because of you. And they not only do they go and buy it, but they send you like a picture. Like someone did that for me this past week with Death's Door. It was like the only tweet I got about it. I'm sure maybe people based off my review did go and pick it up. But to get like the picture of the start menu and be like, GT7 says, like, I got it because you really excited. I'm like, that's cool. Like, I'm with you. It's such a great feeling when you get that.
Right. Yeah, and it's I don't know. It's cool. It's made me change the way I talk about something, because it's like I always want to be like, I like this game a lot, but you may not. If you like for this Ender Lillies game, like if you don't like Metroidvania games, you're not going to be into this. Isn't going to be the one that changes it for you. It's not like one of those. It's not like Hades. Hades is a game that's like, this may change the way you feel about roguelikes, or this will be the roguelike that you like. It's not like that. You know what I mean? So
well put.
You got to put out distinctions. But no, and the other thing just about this game that I think is cool is just this studio. I'm trying to, let me see here. Binary Haze. I was trying to do some research on them, and they're based out of Tokyo. This is their very first game. I was trying to figure out if they had like here's a gamesindustry.biz article. New publisher, Tokyo-based Binary Haze launches. Their label's first game is Ender Lillies Quietus of the Night. So wait, is Binary Haze the
publisher maybe?
Wait. The label's first title, which is developed by its sibling company, Ad Globe, as well as another studio called Live Wire, and has Katsuki Okaba leading story and game direction. Now, who is Katsuki Okaba?
This is an like interesting rabbit hole. Let's dive.
Let's dive for a moment. I like this.
Yeah, we got some time. Let's do it.
Japanese composer and arranger, best known for composing music for Drakengard 3, Nier, and its sequel, Nier Automata.
Oh,
holy shit!
Yeah, wow, that's actually hilarious, because when you said Okaba or Okabe, because I thought Okabe. I was gonna say Okabe. I knew was from Nier, but when you said Okaba, I was like, oh, just must be a close name. Wow, that's wild. Okay, that's awesome, man. That's a great get for a first game. Wow.
Right. Well. Okay, hold on. Ender, dude, I shit you not. I was playing this game. I'm like, this music, it's clearly inspired by Nier. That's what I thought when I was playing it. So, man, that is so funny, dude. Yeah. Wait, let me make sure I say this right. Katsuki Okabe, right? Yeah, director of the game. So there you go.
He directed this too.
Directed the game.
Wow.
Leading story and game direction. So
that's actually really interesting.
It's weird though, because it's not. Wait, this is a male, a guy. So it's not on his Wikipedia page at all, which I find a little weird. Now, it recently just shows that he did the music for both Nier Replicant and Nier the mobile game that just came out. So I'm wondering if he's doing this on the side or something.
Yeah, like I was gonna say it. It's interesting, because when you first said that, like, oh, this is their first foray, and they did a really good job, and it seems like it's really well loved. I always find that to be uplifting now that I'm working on a game with a small group of people, and we're looking into doing our prototype soon. where when my biggest concern is like, okay, like, we're getting into game development. We have, talented people on our team where it's like, I think we're going to be well guided. And I'm sort of heading this whole thing, and I'm looking at it thinking to myself like, okay, can you get it right your first time? Of course there will be some hangups, but to hear that some folks got it right their first time is, to me, just selfishly a little uplifting. It's like, oh, nice. Like, I want to check this game out just to see how you do it right your first time.
Right. Yeah. Wait, no, Maddie, we've made a grave mistake.
Oh, no.
This is not the same person.
Okay.
Google has failed me. I should screenshot this. I brought up the name Katsuke Okabe, and it brings up the same person as Nier, who both have the last name Okabe. Damn it. So I was wrong. But
what a coincidence, though.
Damn it, Google, for leading me astray on this podcast in front of thousands. You've embarrassed me. How dare you, Google?
We're not going to edit it out. We're not doing that. We're going to take you on this journey with us. You just went through the ups and downs just like us.
This is what happens when you go down rabbit holes live on a podcast, Maddie.
Yeah, right. Normally we come in a little prepared. We have a nice, this is what happens when we say, all right, screw the news. We're just going to talk games and misinform you.
I'm looking into this AdGlobe company, though, now. Let's see. I found their website is all in Japanese. Okay, so the company that made this does have a lot of experience doing other stuff, but it looks like more contract type stuff. Like they did a Fate Grand Order game for smartphone. It looks like they've done a lot of
really
like
popular game. No wonder they had the.
Oh yeah,
yeah. My buddy plays it. He wails on that game big time.
They've also made a tax return app for Japanese. Wow, they've done all kinds of weird stuff.
That's fascinating. You go from Fate Grand Order to a tax return app. It just shows that it's a business at the end of the day, right? Like they're just gonna do what makes them money.
So, okay, wait. Manufacturing industry management system using wearable devices. We developed communication, safety management, and navigation features that employ the hands-free operation of electronic devices, such as cameras and mic. Dude, it's so weird. This is a company that's like made contract stuff for company, like either weird software related stuff.
Interesting.
And has also made Ender Lillies. So good for them.
Yeah, Ender Lillies is just another notch on the belt, I guess, right? Like,
yeah,
doesn't matter.
Very, very interesting. Anyway, so yeah, check that out if you're interested. Maddie, let's throw it over to you though. What have you been playing? We'll do back and forth. How about that?
I was gonna say let's do that. So, what I want to do is I'm organizing my notes live as we go along here, just to make sure I have like the timestamps correct. I want to talk about Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'd say this is the one I've played the most this week, and I've entered some dangerous territory, Dustin. So this week, 2 games I was looking very forward to came out in the name of The Ascent and Neo: The World Ends With You. Now, The Ascent I did play. We'll talk about that this episode. Neo: The World Ends With You I picked up launch day. I have not played it yet because this game really has its hooks in me. I think I finally got it, right? I think I finally found the in-betweener game because it's been enough of a lull. You played a quick death store, 8 hours. Didn't want to start anything new, but there was enough time to just do whatever. And normally with Star Wars: The Old Republic, for those who've been long-term listeners, I say this is sort of the winter game. I download it every winter, and typically during the month of December, I just dive in, play for a couple weeks, and I leave. But this time around, something felt different. I sort of wasn't in that, time for the grind, let's go, boys. I didn't get all my friends together for it. It wasn't an event. I was like, I just want to play this. I want to get to the end of some class stories. I want to level up my character to get to the level cap for the DLC coming this winter. And now I'm just grabbed by everything this game's offering. It's such a fun time. It's definitely the best storytelling in MMO. I don't know why it's not as popular, given, I think, how many similarities it shares with some, we'll just say, very popular ones on the market, Final Fantasy XIV, where I think some people are missing out on this one, and its free-to-play offerings are fantastic. does wall you off in some areas where they clearly want you to subscribe. But the trick here is that if you subscribe one time, which I haven't done yet, by the way, if you subscribe one time, though, they give you all the expansions permanently to your account from that point forward.
Shit.
So, yeah, you don't have to remain a sub to experience the add-on content, which I personally thought was excellent to see. But they limit your character creation. Like, you can't sprint to level 10. There's some stupid stuff in there. Like, they limit your credit count. You can only expand your inventory so far. The list goes on. But I'm at the point now where I am considering subscribing, aside from the perks, because I do want to support the game. But I'm also just having a good time, and I see myself sticking with it. That's the difference here. And I think that's, once again, a testament to its storytelling, but also, it kind of wraps back to the intro where I've just been in this weird spot emotionally lately. I've been grinding out a ton of single-player games this whole year. I talked to how I played 40 hours of SMT4, and, I leapt into Death's Door. And it's just I've been playing so much single-player, high-focus stuff that I want to make sure I'm still sharp, where I'm not really, going through another experience, and just they're starting to glance. Because I was feeling that a little bit towards the end of Death's Door. Things that I would normally rip my notepad out and take notes of. Fortunately, I eventually did. But I was all right, I'm starting to lose it a little bit. I was I need to reset and sort of sit with something that's, a little more mindless, a little less engaging in its approach on design, right? It's not I'm going to look at it from a very heavily critical standpoint. It's an MMO.
Sure.
And so it's been the perfect thing. It's just what the doctor ordered. And it's really grabbed me where I've just been in it constantly. And even with new games coming out, it's sort of taken priority, I got to be honest, because at the end of the day, me doing my job right is the priority. And this is going to get me to that point and keep me in that area, rather. So I've been playing a lot of it, and I can go on all day about it. But have you ever considered? You don't strike me as an MMO guy, I'll be honest. But have you ever considered dabbling in something like the Old Republic?
I went through a brief World of Warcraft period. When I was in, I think the summer, I had 2 or 3 summers when I was in 9th or 10th grade. I played World of Warcraft specifically in the summer. Just because I could stay up till 4 in the morning every night and then sleep till 10.
For my sleep.
Yeah. So every once in a while I will catch the MMO bug, but now I don't know. The last couple times I've tried to pick up an MMO like that, they have not done it for me. They've not really hooked me in. I tried Old Republic years ago. It probably was closer. How old is the Old Republic?
This is 2011, I want to say, is when it came out.
I was gonna say it feels like it was probably 8 years ago or something that I checked it out.
Yeah,
it's
pretty
still
old.
going.
Yeah.
What's the player base on this like?
It's got to be decent because this fall they're dropping a pretty sizable update. They're overhauling some of the gameplay, so you're not limited by your class. So, for example, I'm playing as an Imperial agent right now, and my class uses the blaster rifle. But when I loot blaster pistols, I can't use them just based off the type of class I am. Now I will be able to use those with this new update. It sounds insignificant, but it just lets you scale up quicker, lets you mess around more. It opens the game up more, essentially. It's something the game has needed for a while. But they're dropping. That's a pretty significant change. They're streamlining how some classes are leveling up and how their abilities are done. And then they're adding a new planet, which I don't know how sizable that will be, but they're adding Manon, which is my favorite KOTOR planet. And I'm just looking at damn, bro, this is 10 years later they're doing this. And then I was looking at some of their older expansions, and there's 5 or 6 already there. I mean, there's got to be a player base, right, to answer your question, because they're doing so much with it still.
Yeah.
Especially because it survived past EA and the transition of this is no longer canon. The Old Republic's not canon. Now it seems like it is. It's lived through all of that where there had to be something there.
It lived, died, and now may live again. Who knows? As far as the canon nature of it.
We'll see.
Now, This just reminded me, Maddie, do you remember this game, Star Wars Galaxies? The MMO before?
Why does that sound familiar? I don't think I've played it.
I never played it because it was more so probably when we were in like elementary school. But I remember hearing stories about Star Wars Galaxy. It was a very unique MMO, like to the point where it wasn't like a combat or wasn't necessarily combat focused. Like I think it had like elements where it's like if you want to be a shopkeeper in the Star Wars universe, you can do that.
Oh, that sounds cool.
And then like it was like insanely hard to become a Jedi. Like it took months and months before someone became a Jedi.
Cool. I didn't know that.
It was a very unique thing. I wish I knew more about it. I just remember the Star Wars.
That reminds me of RuneScape. RuneScape was like really my OG MMO. I played that for probably half a decade straight. Like it's partially the reason why I was late to the 360 generation. I bought in 08 because it's around the time I stopped playing RuneScape because it was all I played. And I would dabble with PS2 games on the side. But in RuneScape, you could it really just not be a combat build at all. Like you could just start a class and be like, I remember one of the most fascinating things I would see is I would randomly, I can see it now. Like I'm in Lumbridge, I'm like level 48, grinding away on my character, just combat based. And I think these classes, I want to say these characters would be called pures. Like I'm a fletching pure. And what people would do is they would stay level 3 after the tutorial. And I remember someone like initiating a trade with me and they just popped like 2 million GP into the inventory to show me like I'm level 3 and I have this much money. And what people would do is they would just sign into these accounts and they would up these non-combat skills and they'd be like woodcrafting pures or woodcutting, not crafting, fire making pures. And they'd be these level 3s that just grind out a skill and it's like a flex account. It's the weirdest shit of all time. But anyway, I cut you off. What were you about to say about Star Wars Galaxies?
I was looking to see like what some of the professions you can be an entertainer. And all your abilities, like dude, I gotta send you a screenshot of this because this is just so I'm watching on YouTube someone do this right now. And you know how there's like the classic MMO like a bit like grid of abilities.
Yeah, the ability bar. Yeah.
They have this, but it's all like music notes and stuff like that. Like I have no. Okay, I'm just sending you the screenshot from this YouTube video that I'm watching right now.
Okay.
I have to learn more. It's totally dead now. Like it's not. I'm sure that probably there's like
this came
underground.
out 2003 is when it came out. That's pretty fucking crazy. Star Wars Galaxy. Oh wow, this kind of. I'm looking at some gameplay screenshots now. Huh. Wow, that's oh my god, this is such an MMO.
I know, dude. This is from
like I'm just seeing like those
years ago.
Tons of text, bodies piled up everywhere. 1 year veteran. Like there's no unity with any of the UI whatsoever. It's just a fucking mess.
Dude, Maddie, it's so funny thinking back. Think of like all the MMOs that have lived and died. Star Wars Old Republic is one that has really stood the test of time, which is just crazy. But like, I remember I never played it, but again, this is when I remember seeing at GameStop as a kid. The Matrix Online MMO was one. I remember the original Phantasy Star Online.
Oh
yeah, 1 and 2.
Yeah,
that shit was fire. Pirates of the Caribbean Online. I'm just looking at like random ones.
Isn't there a Lord of the Rings Online that is still available?
Yes, I believe it is. Yes,
I remember that being around when I bought my PC for the first time in 2012, and I almost tried it out. Some MMOs just, I think if you're tied to a brand, you can survive way longer. Like, it'll be interesting to see how long something like New World lasts, which is a new IP, versus like Elder Scrolls Online, which really got its legs in 2014, and how long will Bethesda support that for?
Dude, Yeah. I can't believe my mind is blown right now. Maddie, did you know there's an SMT MMO that came out in North America in
What?
2008? It's called Shin Megami Tensei Imagine.
What?
It shut down in 2016. So it actually had like a long life. Shin Megami Tensei Imagine. Wow. I'm looking at screenshots of it now, and it has like the demons and stuff. It looks like it'd be pretty cool.
I don't know if this is like a remake or a re-release, but there's a game called Star Wars Galaxy's Legends that I don't know if this is like a fan-made thing or what, but it is a game that's out. But it doesn't look.
I'm looking at this now. I'm wondering if this is just a fans keeping the game alive.
Yeah,
maybe, and like updating. Surprised Disney hasn't come in and
they brought back my favorite game,
Mickey
a game
Mouse
I played throughout my childhood. Yeah, this is like a fan made. Like they brought back Star Wars Galaxies.
Damn. I really hope that doesn't get shut down. Fucking Disney, dude.
I know, right? That's the one thing is with the Old Republic, I feel safe investing my time in it right now.
Right.
I don't feel like I'm going to get burned over it.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I've just been playing through the Imperial Agent storyline for that, and I think I'm almost level 40 now. I want to say the free-to-play cap is like 70-ish. I might be wrong, so we're getting up there. But overall, I've been having a good time. Let's dish it back to you. What's next on your list?
The next one for me is a game I've played less of, but I still want to talk about it, which I have to give some disclosure. This game was given to me for free, as the creators of this game are friends of the Sacred Symbols podcast.
Oh.
This is a game called Trigger Witch.
Whoa.
Which Trigger Witch is a twin stick shooter. And okay, the developer is Rainbite. I was trying to remember which Rainbite. They've also made the game Rainbow Moon.
Oh man, I remember Colin talking about that one a lot.
Wait, maybe not. Wait, is Google failing me again?
I don't know. There's a chance.
No. They didn't make it. They did not. That's totally wrong. Dude,
Google.
I gotta do these. I gotta get better about these on the spot.
Yeah, Google's really.
The other
really
games that they've made is Reverie and a game called Rim 9000. Reverie. I've heard of this game, but I've never seen it before. It looks like Earthbound.
Oh.
It has like an
Suddenly,
Earthbound.
a lot of the audience is looking it up.
Look to it. Reverie. I've never played this game, but anyway, Trigger Witch is a twin stick shooter that you play as a witch. Wait, well, let me just read. I like reading what the developers, how they describe their game. Of course. Magic and firearms make a deadly combo. Recalling the visual style and intuitive gameplay of 16-bit action adventure classics, Trigger Witch puts an ultra-violent spin on cute and colorful pixel art. With compelling and original narrative, puzzling environments to explore, a dynamic soundtrack, twin-stick shooter mechanics, and a vast array of enemies to blast into smithereens, this is a tale that will grip you from start to bloody finish. So there's a little more, but I'm going to skip that. So, Trigger Witch. It's like about these, there's these witches and they no longer use magic, like it's of the old ways and they've forgotten it. And so they use guns instead. And
wow,
it's very funny because, I mean, this description listed it as a bloody wait, let's see. What did it say? Oh, an ultra-violent spin. So yeah, when you shoot stuff, there's like gore and blood all over the ground. But you play as like this cute little witch. And what's interesting about it is when you think twin stick shooter, you think of like a very arcadey focused game, like whether it's levels or waves or even roguelike, something like Enter the Gungeon or whatever. Mm-hmm. This game is more of an adventure type game, an action adventure, whatever you want to call it, in that it has an overworld that is more reminiscent of something like A Link to the Past. And you go and explore different sections of the map, and there's basically dungeons. And so far, right now I'm on my second dungeon, which it's non-linear in how you approach, at least the beginning part that I've played. And each dungeon so far has like been totally different and unique. There's like puzzles you have to solve in order to get to different parts of the dungeons. You unlock different weapons. So like right now I have a pistol, like an AK, like assault rifle. I have a grenade launcher, and then I have like dual Uzis, which are really fun.
Okay, wow.
And this game's very cool. I really like it. It's like very cute, but also it's like a really nice contrast. And the thing that I was like wondering about is like hopefully this is a smaller team. Sometimes getting something like a twin stick, you want to make sure it feels right, but it feels really great. It's very fun. Like I said, this one I probably have like 2 or 3 hours in, but what I've played, I've very much enjoyed. It's very charming. Friend of the show for Sacred Symbols, John O'Peck, wrote all of the dialogue for the game. And there's actually references to Sacred Symbols in the game.
Really? That's awesome.
There's a trophy and there's a reference to someone saying Sacred Symbols in some. I'm trying to remember. Someone
really
tagged us in it at one point, but
that's great.
That's pretty cool.
Good for you guys.
But,
that's amazing recognition.
Yeah. Trigger Witch from Rainbite. So take that. It's worth taking a look at. I love twin stick shooter games. Like I think on this show even I've talked about Nex Machina is a game that I really love. I think I first fell in love with twin stick shooters when I played what was the Xbox 360 arcade game? Geometry Wars.
Oh, wow.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, wow. That's a throwback.
Dude, I was addicted to the arcade release of Geometry Wars. I played that all the time.
Xbox arcade, man.
I remember, dude, that was one of those games you would try to beat your high score, and when you would get close, like your heart would start beating, and you're like, oh my god, fuck. And then, so that was a really good game. But I've grown to really love twin stick shooters, and this one, I think the most unique aspect is that adventure aspect to it. I mean, more recent, like Nex Machina is like you're running through a set path, levels, right? And Enter the Gungeon, I believe, is a roguelike. Did you play Enter the Gungeon?
I played a little bit of it on my Vita, I want to say. I might be misremembering that, but I was not super crazy about it.
I've tried to pick up and play that game a few times, and I've never really been into it. Apparently it's huge, though. Like, that's like a really big seller for Devolver. Like, one of their biggest, huge.
Yeah, they always pick out these games that just dominate. I don't know how they do it. They have really good talent there, though, or rather a good eye for talent of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Like, didn't they publish Fall Guys?
Yes.
Are they even in like an independent small label anymore like they appear?
No. So, yeah. What's funny about Fall Guys and Devolver, Maddie, I may have shared this on the show before. I can't remember what I say anywhere, but we covered Fall Guys at PAX the year before, PAX 2020, before the pandemic took off. I remember checking out this game, or Ben played it, and I was watching, and I said to Ben, I'm like, so was it any good? He's like, yeah, it was fine, but this game's only going to survive if there's people to play it on the servers. It's like, well, yeah, we'll see. And we were like, it's fine, but we didn't really think much of it. We did like coverage on it or whatever. And then it's like, when that game came out on PS Plus, holy shit, that was like,
that took over.
I'm wondering how it's doing now, though. I mean, they got bought by Epic.
It had to have been doing it.
Mediatonic.
I imagine it was a game that grew so big that now it's just quietly enjoying a nice, tight player base. Obviously, not as big as what it was last summer, but. Right. It's funny you mentioned that because just this past week, Cog was telling me on Defining Duke on how he looked at it, had similar thoughts to you, but someone else, a part of ILP, was also looking at it for preview for their site, and they were like, this thing's going to be huge. It's so good. Like, I really believe in it. And so it's just wild that you all previewed it. For me, when it came out, that was the first time I heard of it. I was like, oh, look at this cute little game. And now they're adding cool skins. Like, I think they got a Ratchet and Clank one in there. We know they have Nier in there. It's pretty wild how it's grown.
Yeah. But dude, both Devolver and Annapurna, they're doing really something interesting. In the past few years, just doing like I don't know exactly, and I'm sure it depends on a per game basis, but I don't think Devolver, they don't own IP at all. So they like,
No, they just,
I don't know what
that's a good
the
point.
deal is. So they publish indie studios. So like Devolver games, I mean,
really
they're
good
technically
point.
not.
I never thought of that because there's games you associate with them. Like I think a Hotline Miami right away. I think as
Right.
an immediate one.
Well, you got to wonder. There's probably some stipulation where they're like, okay, you get to own the IP, but we get to make merch and use it in our marketing and on our website and stuff like that. Or maybe not. I don't know. That'd actually be a really interesting conversation for somebody to talk to them about how the info's probably out there, actually already published in an interview or something. But
I always just wonder how the cuts for that work, right? That's what I'm always so keen to learn is how does that all slice up for the IP owner?
Right. You got to imagine. I mean, the Hotline Miami dudes, they released those two games and then they just disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, wait. What happened to them? I know they're not interested in doing Hotline Miami 3. Donation Games. Let's see. On New Year's Eve, January 2021, Jonathan Soderstrom. Wow, that's a name. Tweet mentioning a new unannounced game. It is a passion project, so I'm not sure who will enjoy it, but I'm sure some people will be horrified and others delighted. Okay.
Doesn't sound like Hotline Miami to me.
No, dude, those guys are probably let's see.
Hotline Miami's kind of a fucked up series anyway, so
yeah.
Like it's really
those dudes are probably
twisted.
rich.
Oh yeah.
I love there's like no hint of jealousy or anything like that. Like when I hear about these indie developers that have like these huge hits, and I'm like, dude, these guys are probably just they made it. They can just relax. They want to wait 4 years before they release a game. They can, or
it's because for them to have gotten there, they you start somewhere. It's something I don't mean to make this about me. I'm just more so saying like it's something I remind my team of often is, we want to get shit done, but I'm like, no one's pressing us. Like, I'm going to be honest, no one cares right now. So let's take our time and get it right. And so you are afforded that extended time to work on it that maybe a AAA studio or AA studio or whoever isn't afforded. And I think they know well enough to be like, all right, we don't need to like another one in 4 years. It's like maybe take 6, but they have the money and the time now instead of just time. And so I think they're doing the right thing, personally. It just sucks. You got to wait.
Were you a Stardew Valley fan?
I want to love this game so much, Dustin. I really do. I don't dislike it. I love its art. I love its approach. Just it never – I think, that's the best way to put it. It just never clicked. It never clicked. I never dove deep enough or found like the hook or what was happening in the narrative in the world or the gameplay mechanics. Like I know there's dungeon diving in it and fishing. Like all I would end up doing each time I played it with co-op is I just end up fishing for a little bit. And I'm like, okay, it's a new day. Like I don't know when the next step in progress arrives, but I never got hooked by this game, but it's such a Matt game that I know one day it will happen.
Right. So Jason Schreier's book, I know he has a new book that's more about like his kind of shtick with unionizing and stuff. His old book, which is called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, he has a chapter about the creator of Stardew Valley, and basically like his girlfriend supported him for years while he toiled away at this game, made no money, and now, I mean, dude, can you imagine how much money that dude made off that game?
Yeah.
Like, apparently, I think it's in Jason's book, like, he followed up with him or something, and he was, like, still driving the same old-ass car or whatever. He's
Good
like, I guess I should probably get a new car now. Like, I can...
Good for him.
Or whatever, but, yeah. So it's just cool. I love seeing success stories.
Absolutely.
Like that. It's
very
cool.
So, Dustin, I will raise your twin stick shooter with another.
Yes.
Let's talk the Ascent.
This is this is the only other game that I could lightly talk about. So we can.
I think it's a good
seriously,
final game because I don't have anything else that outside of League. I played a lot of League of Legends, but I'm not gonna bore you with MOBA talk.
Fucking dork.
Yeah.
MOBA dork. Dude, did you play the Pokemon MOBA yet?
Absolutely, Dustin. Look who you're talking to.
Is it acceptable? I mean, I don't want to deviate too far here. Let's just make it a quickie.
Yeah.
A quickie here with this Pokemon MMO.
On a front of Pokemon choice, the kits, like, your move set, the map, the speed of the game, the entry, the low entry bar, but there's a high skill gap. Dustin, this game is excellent.
Oh.
Here's the trick.
Pay to win?
Yes.
Damn it.
Yes. And I don't trust that they're actually going to fix this because, number one, the game's super popular. Two, I just saw Game Informer give it an 8, and I'm sorry, but you can't be doing that. I usually don't bitch about particular review scores, but you can't be giving this game an 8 when you can literally take out your wallet and buy not a small advantage, like a distinct game-changing. When I was playing it, I played it for about 3-4 hours. And when I'm not playing against players who pay, it is a blast. But the second someone who is paid is in your lobby, you can tell because they do massive damage off the rip. They beat you in fights. It is a major game changer. They'll do like 1,000 damage by level 6. I'll always remember that. It's like my go-to line for it because I saw it in a video, then it happened to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, this isn't a myth. And so that's like the one thing holding me back from going like, this game is awesome. And I would be playing it a lot more. A lot more. So yeah, Pokemon Unite, good MOBA, but not great balance right now. And what's weird, just to not drag this on too much, they have great cosmetics for your trainer, for the Pokemon. They got cool skins already. And I'm like, dude, it's Pokemon. Like, this shit would sell. No problem whatsoever. Like, why are you selling enhancements to items? So they got to figure something out, but I don't trust they will. Also because it's Tencent. It's Tencent's involved.
Dude, yeah, it's fucking Tencent, dude. Fuck them.
It's weird because Tencent's also involved in League, and I don't want to say League is balanced, but League doesn't have, microtransactions like that, so at least it has that going for it.
Yeah, that's the thing. I saw people that were like annoyed at Nintendo. It's like, it's not Nintendo's fault. The only authority that they probably have over a Pokemon company is that, like, Pokemon games will only release on PC or on Nintendo consoles and mobile, and maybe the trading card games. I think there's been a few PC. Yeah,
the trading card game is on PC. I hope they bring Unite to PC. That's the other kind of disappointing part, is I feel that could elevate it a little bit more.
Right.
I will say the part Nintendo plays in this is the protection its fans give them constantly. They're also being protected from this. This should be, here's the thing, is the Activision thing is a priority, right? Like that should be the talk of the industry, which it is. But before that, this should have been the talk, I feel. And it was not at all. And so now, more important things have arisen, but this I think they're going to get away scot-free with, for sure.
Right.
But so anyway, the Ascent, Dustin.
Yes.
How many hours did you play of this? I played about 5.
Probably at like 45 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
I was checking it out pretty late last night when it was one of those, like, I'm not tired enough to go to bed, but I am also, so I played and I was like, okay, now I'm fading.
Gotcha.
But what I can say, since I don't have much, is that, wow, this is a pretty game. I mean, it shows an ugly, gross place, but it does a very good job at it.
Yeah.
I
agree.
And I was just very impressed by the visuals overall. And I mean, what I did play felt good. Also twin stick, as he said.
Yeah.
But it feels, from what when I was digging around in the menus, it almost seemed like it had like a Diablo type of feel to its armor, new weapons. Is it, or am I looking into that too much?
Okay, so let me start off with this, is that right now I have to openly admit that 5 hours deep, I'm a little more disappointed than I am happy with this game.
Oh.
And that was not a plot twist I was expecting. This sort of looked like a take it to the bank type game. Like, it's going to be good. Sort of like how I felt about that store when I saw it. I was like, yeah, this should be pretty good. Not that the Ascent is a bad game, but there are way more flaws with it than I expected. And part of it is like, where were my expectations at? But also part of it is just like undercooked elements. So you were talking about like Diablo stuff. This doesn't have like a skill tree that's going to give you unique abilities that really separate your character. Where that sort of comes in is with augmentations. So one of the first ones you unlock is a hydraulic fist, and when someone gets close to you, you can like press LB or RB, if you're on console that is, or you have a controller hooked up to your PC, and you'll like punch them and it'll do like a wide cone of damage. But you're not, like, your skills and leveling up are really going to be more in the vein of you get more health, you have more accurate shots before the spread is too wide. Stuff like that. That's not bad, by the way, but they could have done, if possible, more, because this is a 4-player co-op game, and I don't think there's enough to separate your character from the next. So that is definitely an issue with the game. Another major problem I had with it, like this is the biggest one, was its design made no sense. No sense. Okay. So you go through this. I'm not going to spoil anything, but this kind of probably gets a little bit ahead of where you were at with the game. So you go through the whole tutorial area. You get out of what's called the Deep Stink. You go into this town, something 13. I forgot what it's called. You get there. You finish up that first main mission. And they're like, hey, you got some side quests around here. Check them out. So I pick them up. I talk to some characters. I have them unlocked. I look at my side quest log. Some are like saying suggested level 22, suggested level 7. I think I was level 4 by this point. And so I'm like, okay, let's try level 7. So I mark it on my map. Brings me to an area, and that area is guarded by enemies that are level 9 to 11. And of course, being level 4, you get washed. Eventually, I kind of cheese the game a little bit. You know, not really cheese it. I use the mechanics wisely. I take cover, take them out. Felt pretty good. I was like, nice. You know, this is mechanically sound. I get to the location that I'm allowed to go into, and it doesn't let me take the elevator down to the side quest. I'm like, okay, so not only did it bring me into an unbalanced area, but now I can't even progress. So I'm thinking like, all right, maybe I'm just not supposed to explore yet. So I do a full main quest. I get to the next chapter of the game. I go back and I start doing another side quest. This one was to go find, something. I forgot exactly what. It was to find his stash. Right. I found a dead body. Side quest unlocked. Go find this guy's stash. I'm like, okay, cool. Same exact fucking thing happens. I pull up into an area. I was level, I think, 12, and I was fighting level 19s. And I'm like, what the fuck is, like, what? But the quest was marked as like a level 7 quest. Like, it was below my level again. And I'm like, okay, so the recommended level is not accurate. So once again, you know, I take my time. I peel through. I take these enemies out. And then I get to this door, and it says, like, requires Ice 1, which I'm guessing is either an unlock or an ability or a way to get through these doors. So I'm like, now I've wasted my time again on another piece of side content. So it happened twice, which was really frustrating. And not only that, it sent me through areas that I was clearly underleveled for. And so then this doesn't get into, there are stations that you can travel to. But the map and exploration, the way it's laid out, is very poor, where it's easy to get lost. And I found myself having an easier time, although it took much longer, just walking all the way back, which sucks. That was another time waster. And then I got to my third side quest because I was like, I got to see if there's just something wrong with my game or with me and my build. Should I just be plowing through the story at this point? But if so, why would they unlock? Like, by the way, Dustin, I had like 8 side quests unlocked at this point. So it wasn't like, oh, I was just doing certain ones I shouldn't have been doing at that time. Like, there was a lot I could have tried to do. And so I did one that sent me back to the first area of the game, which you've already explored, like the ferals you're fighting. You have to collect their testicles, which I'm like, all right, a little humor here. Go through the entire location, kill everything. You get deep to pretty much the point where you started the game, and then you got to run all the way back. And so the game really tripped up in this area, I think. They did not balance it well, handle it well. And I was really upset by this. I was like, man, like this is not fun right now. I like it on a mechanical level, but it's not respecting my time. In fact, it's wasting it. And that's really kind of annoying. So I want to know, I know you're much earlier than me, but what were your impressions of the gameplay and stuff? There was the ability to shoot high or shoot level. I thought that was really neat. What did you think about that?
I mean, I thought the shooting felt good and tight, but you've kind of answered the question that I was curious about, was like, what does this game look like long term? Since it clearly has that adventure RPG type aspect, side quests and stuff like that. And honestly, I was thinking last night, I was like, is this a game I want to invest in? And what you just said has convinced me of no. Which is fun.
Yeah, I'm going to play through, obviously, for Defining Duke. I want to talk about it on the show. But also, I want to give it the long-term look. Maybe it shapes out, but there are elements of, like, you can equip a helmet, chest piece, legs. You have 2 weapons you can equip. Maybe you can unlock more, like more weapon slots. But you can switch between those 2. They'll do different things. You can upgrade weapons. You'll get, like, parts, and you can just literally just scale up their abilities, which I thought was a little also undercooked because it's this cyberpunk-like society, and you're really only able to just add a part to your weapon that just ups the damage. Like, there's no customization there. And so I think I would have liked it if they almost trimmed down some content and focused more on the builds. And I don't want to talk about what it could have been versus what it is, but just as it is now, I don't even think it feels spread thin. It just doesn't feel like there's clarity in its design. And the story, I'll say the universe is really cool artistically, but also the way they present it to you is I was expecting almost like an Outer Worlds type thing because they're like, oh, it's a world run by corporations. But actually, you step into this game and the corporations have gone bankrupt. And so now there's like a power void and all these gangs are sort of shooting for it. And this world is in chaos now. And I'm like, all right, this is kind of gritty. This is really cool. I like that part. The game leans into its codex a lot too. I thought there'd be not that I want a lot of storytelling, but I thought there'd be a little bit more. But a lot of it's like, you don't know who the fuck this guy is until you read his bio in the codex. And that's not ideal. I'm sorry. I understand. I view it as, and maybe my view is not synonymous with everyone else. The codex is for those who want to take a deeper dive. The game should provide you enough information to know who's who. And the design team should not assume that every player is going to read paragraphs about someone's life. It should be presented in the story some way, somehow, if they are going to be important to it.
That's kind of the same problem I had with Control. Was so much of that game is in the fucking code, like stuff that you pick up and read.
Really? That's surprising because I feel like so many people talk up the story.
I'm an outlier on Control, and I've spent a lot of time thinking about it. When I reviewed it for Handsome Phantom, I gave it a 7.5.
Okay.
And a lot of that was due to that I was, not a lot of it, but the story to me, I was like, it's difficult. You got to balance a line. It's like, okay, you want your story to be mysterious. You want people to be drawn in by the mystery.
Yeah.
But where that stops being fun for me is when you give people homework of reading a bunch of stuff while you're in the middle of a game where you can pick up and levitate shit and throw it at people. Like, I just don't want to sit and read a bunch of stuff. I just don't want to do that. So that may be appealing to some people, but I thought that was a pretty lackluster way of doing it. So, yeah, it's weird. I'm just trying to think about gaming in general. Like, this is going to become a meme at some point. Not a meme, but it's a meme amongst gaming podcasts where everyone's like, man, BioShock did it so well with its audio logs. Even if the audio logs don't make sense. Like, it's like, were these people recording themselves all the time doing whatever the fuck, whatever? I would rather have something that doesn't make sense, that I'm willing to suspend reality for just that. I mean, we're already under the fucking ocean.
Well, here's the thing, is that you can keep playing while you're doing it, right? Like, you can...
Right.
Exactly, right? You can keep going around and doing your thing, exploring while this part of the story is told to you. Stopping and no one wants to stop their game, right? Unless you gotta go take a piss. You don't want to stop your game.
That's like when, I don't know, I'm of two minds about this. When you think about a game like Fallout and the terminals, like
that's just a presentation win for Fallout, I think. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just think they have a benefit that no one else has.
Right. And sometimes the way they were able to do it, they could be brief. Sometimes the terminals were too much. I was like, there's too much shit in this. I'm not reading it.
I agree.
Other times you could read a little bit and get a context for the environment, or you can get the idea of what happened where you were. I fucking love that. That's really good. But I think that depends on the instance of it. Sometimes I'm like, there's just too much shit written here. I'm sorry. I'm bored. Yeah. But other times it was like, oh, yeah, I got a quick idea of like, this is what went down. So.
Yeah. And so this game doesn't really, I want to say it doesn't pound away with that, because there is, like, as you've seen, there's dialogue that you can have, which the UI for it looks very last minute. Like, I don't think they planned on it originally, at least early in development, I should say, because there's enough dialogue there to warrant that they were thinking about it for some time. But to me, it felt kind of stitched in. And I was really excited because at first when I was playing it, I was getting those vibes of like Champions Norrath, Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance, like games I love. Like, I love that isometric action RPG. That was my bread and butter as a kid. Those two games, of course, lead the charge, but this seems sort of like an evolution in that. And on a gameplay front, it actually is. Like, once again, I cannot emphasize enough, mechanically, the fact that you can take cover and that you can aim high, it changes so much. It really does. But beyond that, I just feel its pacing and its way of laying out content has not left me happy. And then when you start, and then I call it the pile-on effect. If anyone's listened for a while, they know what I'm talking about, is that other issues start to be brought to light because something's like consistently nagging. It's like, why am I here? Like, why is the story not really picking up? You know, why is this happening in the gameplay? It can be very easily piled on. Now, once again, not a bad game, especially for a Game Pass download. Play it online with your friends. It's a good time. But I just think even online with your friends, some issues will become exaggerated because your builds will roughly, not even builds, there's not builds. Like, there's weapons and there's armor. So you'll be using different things, but you're not necessarily going to have some separating elements. And I was hoping for a game of 4-player co-op, something that would tell me like, oh, there's going to be real synergy here in this gameplay, which I have yet to see an indicator of that, where, I'll use the hydraulic fist, you'll use a healing item, and we'll really like do this and that together. And not only that, this game is clearly built around co-op, Dustin.
That's what I was wondering, because I was playing by myself, which I saw Karak, our boy, talking. He's real hot on this game, and he I think he's more about the co-op. I didn't see his review, but I know he was tweeting about playing it with people. Yeah.
Here's the thing is, I got to this one point in the story. So I'm going to reference this point so members of our audience know directly what I'm talking about, and they can submit their thoughts, whether they agree or disagree. There's this part where you have to kill 4, I think they're called chrome bodies. They're these characters with RPGs. I died here like 6 fucking times. And it was kind of horseshit each time, because they would swarm you, which is fine, because a lot of this game is about moving back, aiming, being precise, taking cover. But the amount of times I died and where the checkpoint system was and how my progress was also saved, so any enemies you killed were saved, and the game would remember that. I started to think to myself, they probably knew single player this wasn't going to pan out. But on multiplayer, where probably more people would be playing in a co-op environment, it will pan out. And let's give the single player kind of like a crutch to lean on.
Right.
And so I died a lot in that segment. A lot. Even when I was equipping new armor, new items, trying different approaches. Which, by the way, I like a challenge. I didn't really get to the point of true frustration there, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little annoyed. I really would be, because I was starting to feel that, like, once again, this is from before. It's like, okay, you've wasted my time. The side content and the pacing make no sense. Now we're on this was a main story arc, and I'm still being out leveled, even though it's like, okay, well, I wanted to do side content, so maybe this wouldn't have been a problem then. And it's not, I guess at the end of the day, it's not exactly the masterful game I was hoping for. It's so far just an all right game. And that's not a bad thing. But I was really pulling for more. Fortunately, Death's Door came out solid, but it's sort of been, not to make a pity party here, but it's been sort of the song and dance for this year for me. It's like, I feel like Hitman, Persona 5 Strikers were really great games. And then since then, Dustin, it's Death's Door was excellent. But I haven't had that like gem or that like really, this is going to blow my socks off. Like, I haven't had that. And it's kind of annoying because it's like I want to love so many games. And I'm like, you start to attack yourself. Like, I'm like, am I being too harsh on the Ascent? But it's like, I'm not. I clearly had things that I experienced that were problems. Maybe they're not as big of problems for everyone else, but it's frustrating. It's like, I want to love these games, but I right now I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know have you ever gone through a spell like this, by the way?
Yeah, like I'm enjoying a lot of games right now, but I'm not like in love with any games right now. Man. Right, dude, Matty, I just watched I saw on YouTube a little trailer for Tales of Arise, and I was like, that's what I want right now.
Did you see they changed the skits for Tales and how they do them? You know how they used to have like the little anime portraits? Yeah,
I did see that because I watched this video about cooking.
Yeah.
And it showed the interactions and stuff.
What did you think of that? I was like, I'm a little in the middle.
You know what I thought when I saw that video? I was like, damn, I am playing this game in Japanese.
Yes! Holy crap. We were saying that in my call yesterday. We were literally sitting there. I was like, yo, I heard one line. I went, I said, because my friend was like, what do you think of the skits? And I'm like, before that, I just know I'm playing in Japanese. I know for a fact I am.
Oh. Let's talk about this for a minute, Matty.
Sure.
I feel bad because it's not a problem with the voice actors. It's a problem with direction. And I was thinking about this because I think that American dubs, I'm sure there's some bad actors that are involved, but I bet you that they are directed to sound like the Japanese version.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they have the same, because like you hear the same type of ridiculous like type stuff in both the Japanese and the US version, but we don't hear the cheesy quality, the hokey quality when it's not in our language. It's like we have a different suspension of reality. And so I was like, maybe the dub is just, theoretically, maybe we should be okay with it because maybe that's what it's is. Is that what a Japanese person hearing the Japanese version?
Right,
I
get what you
sound
mean.
like that to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's See, what's interesting is the talent in the game is talent that is in one of our favorite games, Dustin, Persona 5 Royal. Like, there's a lot of commonalities there, and so you have to ask questions about voice direction.
Right.
Inspiration on the project is huge. Comfortability of the actor or actresses is very important to note because some of these big names I've noticed sort of hit the booth and they don't change their voice all that much. And I'm not saying that you got to adjust it every time because that's really up to the voice director, right? It's like, what performance do you want from this actor or actress? And they kind of help decide that. But I feel a lot of games I've played lately have played it kind of safe. Like Judgment had great voice talent, but there were certain voices that they picked that were just popular English voice actors and actresses that didn't fit their characters at all, felt really out of place in the game, and they're just like, well, this is another big name. Let's get them. And it's like, I would love to see some of these companies. I was actually, it's funny is you weren't here for this because you had to leave early. One of the questions we had was about voice acting and actresses, and I got into it a little bit, and I got off on this tangent on how I would love to see some of these companies try to give new talent a chance, like in significant roles, because I'm feeling like and I'm trying to be nice because I like to do voice work, and I know I'm not some all-star, and I'm not trying to throw stones from a glass house, but I just feel like a lot of this voice talent isn't adjusting enough and elevating enough the characters they're playing. Like Robbie Damon's one of my favorite voice actors, but he's in this game as well, and I'm like, there's another Robbie Damon character. Like it's kind of like it's it just. Yeah. It's a little too familiar. And it's like Robbie Damon's not a bad actor at all. He's fucking amazing. Like you listen to his roles of Akechi. He's really good when he has insane range. It's just I think these directors need to push for them to utilize that range because their full talent is on display and the game sounds flat because of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's the thought of being doing voice acting is always so interesting. Holly's always wanted to do that. But she's never. Well, I mean, she's never really.
She's probably got good vocal control because she sings, right? So.
Right. Yeah, she's that, or even doing like music, like singing for music in games or something like that. But,
right.
Yeah. So I'm sure it's very difficult, though.
Yes. I remember when I recorded my lines for Oddworld, right? I had a couple paragraphs to record, nothing substantial at all, and I obviously wanted to make sure I did it right. So I spent a lot of time on them. Even though realistically it should have taken me probably half an hour tops, I spent 2 hours on them because I really wanted to get it right. And what's funny is a lot of people had, because I was like a voiceover of like a radio station or TV station playing. And what I learned was a lot of people, because they signed on a lot of YouTubers and stuff to do this, and a lot of them didn't change their voice at all. And I was like, did I try too hard maybe? It's always possible. Yeah. But, I wanted to be true to the characters, the race that I was embodying, which I grew up with. But yeah, it's interesting.
I think you did the right thing.
I think so too. I think ultimately I did, but it sounds like I'm telling others to go fuck themselves at the same time. So I'm trying to walk that line carefully. Anyway, anything else you want to say about the Ascent? I know you weren't super deep on it, but
no, I think we covered it.
All right.
I think we're good to go.
Cool.
But let's see here. So we move into Patron
Yes.
questions?
Yeah, let's shift into the Patron questions. Oh, just a little note to the audience. I'll have a Ascent preview on the channel this weekend. So by the time this podcast goes live for free for everyone, it'll be available. So feel free to check that out if you're curious. Let's get into the Patron questions though.
Let's do it.
All right. First one I know comes from Pen and Pan. I'm bringing it up on my phone right now. Here we are. All right. Pen and Pan, first write-in. Hey, what up, Hambonies? Given the recent allegations against Activision Blizzard, I've decided not to support their company and their future games. Would it still be supporting them if you were to buy the game pre-owned? You'd be giving them money assuming you don't buy you wouldn't, be giving them money assuming you don't buy microtransactions. P.S. Since I'm saving my money and time not playing Activision's Blizzard games, I'm highly considering buying Persona 5 Royal. This couldn't have been a better plot twist. All right. So what do you think of this? An all-out boycott where you play nothing, or buying it pre-owned and giving the money to GameStop instead?
I don't know.
GameStop, I mean, Activision has to get some of it, right? Like,
no, well, they wouldn't get anything from it, from GameStop, but
I think it depends on your moral compass.
Right. That's the thing, is like, if it's purely a monetary thing, then sure, they wouldn't get any of the money from that. No, but they still got the money from the person before you, and they no longer have the games. There is some transfer happening, even if it's not direct your dollars going to them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I think that's a decision that Pen and Paint's gonna have to make for himself.
I agree. I would say Persona 5 Royal is better than anything that they've ever put out. So do with that what you will.
Yeah, we had a discussion on Sacred Symbols about that. Like, I'm going to pick up Diablo 2 when it comes out and play it. And
that was the one I was thinking about. I was like, I won't have to make the decision for a while. And then I thought of that and I went, fuck.
Well, the way we look at it, or at least I look at it, I'll speak for me, is that I encourage all consumers to vote with your wallet and buy things based on your moral compass or whatever. If you feel what's the word I'm looking for? If you feel like you shouldn't buy Blizzard games or Activision games right now because of what's happening, then don't. You should follow what you feel on that. I'm kind of a different mind though when it comes to, well, it's different even for you, Maddie, but like for outlets, I'm like, if you don't pick up and play and review these games, someone else will, and they're going to take your views because it's not your job as a media outlet is to play and review games and report on news around the industry. So you can report the facts as they're happening and let the consumers and your readers decide what they're going to do with that. You know, not everyone. And dude, the other thing about the Diablo 2 situation, there's plenty of very hardworking people that
was my point.
Are not involved in this scandal also that probably would really like people to play it. But at the same time, dude, it's muddy waters because it's also, we encourage this idea of like vote for your wallet. And it's like, well, you can't have that mindset about people, the hardworking, good people that work on this game and voting for your wallet at the same time. So that's the thing that where I encourage people to have personal choice about it. I want to be able to, I mean, selfishly, I do want to play Diablo 2 and I want to be able to talk about it. And there's people that would like to hear our thoughts on it that have not chose to make that personal decision. So for you, Maddie, that's, I think, a little different because you're a personal, your content is you and your brand. So if you decide that you don't want to do that, then that's different to me. Though you do have to take the hit in the fact that when Diablo 2 comes out, you will not be getting those views, and that the demand is not going to go away for those reviews. So something to think about.
That's the thing is, that damage is real, man. Like, it's no coincidence. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I've had a really good year so far on YouTube. Just not a lot of subscriber growth, but like in terms of audience retention, it's been really good. Just this month's been slow, so I'm not trying to hyper focus that. But part of that I think I can attribute to the lack of growth is because Dustin, I've talked to you about it. Like, I've barely gotten shit early this year, and I don't say that out of entitlement. I try to make it work. I don't try to stomp my feet too much, but like even games like Death's Door and the Ascent, which I'm like, these are indie games. Like, certainly you'd want as many people in as you can. I'm emailing, I'm being told like, yeah, we'll get you something, and nothing happens. And it's very frustrating, of course, but to your point here, to stay on topic, you do lose out mega on views. Like, I can promise you, once again, same thing I did with Death's Door. Like, I'm going to support the creator. I'm going to make a video championing your game, or in the case of the Ascent, not so much. But it's because I feel particularly passionate about it. But I know for a fact that like Karak, Skill Up, all these great reviewers, IGN got their review out. Like, everyone got their review out. I will not chart nearly as close to them, like whatsoever. It's just not going to happen, unfortunately. And that sucks because what happens is, as a creator, you spend all that time working on it knowing you're sending it out to probably a quarter of the people that would normally see it. And you wonder what could have happened, what if. So yeah, that's definitely something that I just want to spotlight because it's a part that people don't talk about a lot with content creation because they don't want to burn bridges, but it's a sad reality that, yeah, you do burn up your views when you are not there at launch day. And some creators will show where they, I guess, align. I don't plan on making coverage for it. I think that's my way of sort of protesting is like, I can buy your game. I can play it in my own time. I'll support the devs with that purchase, or at least that's how I'll view it. But you're not going to get a spot on my channel in a positive light. Like, you'll make your money your own way. That's how I view it. That because like I feel otherwise it comes across very, I'll be honest, Dustin, it comes across like very performative, and it's like that's not how I operate. It's like I'll do what I think, makes the mark, and that's like my channel makes the mark, and my shows make the mark, and it's like that's where you'll not get that space to have people hear about your games. Sorry. I already didn't talk about them much in the first place. And when I did, I was one of the first people who was making like these Activision meme videos fucking trashing them. So like my stance on them has been clear for over half a decade now.
Yeah. No, then that's, dude, I'm glad to hear that because like I said, I support independent thinking, and and I think the key that I would encourage people is that there's going to be people that choose to not play these games, and there's people that are going to choose to play them.
Yeah.
And people, it's okay to have different opinions about it. And just because someone is choosing to buy and play Diablo 2 when it comes out, that doesn't mean they don't care about women or they don't care about the situation.
Yeah.
But that's just how they are not choosing to do that, and they have a different viewpoint on it. That's okay. I know you understand this, man.
Yeah,
I just wanted
just
to
for someone, if you walk in their house and you see it on their shelf, it's like, well, he fucking hates women, doesn't he? It's like,
that guy fucking hates women.
Yeah, it's like I don't think so, but
yeah, no. So dude, I already know that's coming. I just saw Game Informer. I don't know. They can do whatever they want. This is totally their call. I think it's a bad call, but they are doing a streaming series on Sekiro, and they are stopping, like mid-stream series. And I'm like, I guess because Activision published it. At
this point, they've made all their money off of Sekiro, man. Like, there's no DLC for the game. There's no expansions. Like, they're not doing anything with it as far as we can tell. Like, they did one free DLC. I just feel like stopping that, I was like, what the fuck does that accomplish? Just go talk about and make a shit ton of articles about the bullshit that's happening, and that will get you that will get the message across, that like where you stand and how bad it is, and informing your audience to then make their decisions. Like you said.
Listen, Miyazaki, I don't know him, but he seems like a very nice gentleman. Okay, don't get Miyazaki mixed up. He is mixed up in this, unfortunately, slightly. But not really anymore. You're right. It's long done. But,
yeah. Thank you for the write-in, Pen and Pant. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
Yes. No, I was gonna say this next name. Has this person written in before? I love this name.
Skooma Vendor.
Yeah,
definitely. Okay. I love this name.
It's fantastic.
Good morning, chaps. I was recently about to complete all of the Zombie Army 4 up until the end of the second season pass. When right close to the end, I hit a bug which stopped me from progressing. It was continuous, and I couldn't get it to work. I ended up just dropping it, but I was left with the frustration of knowing I didn't quite finish it. So what's the most frustrating and rage-inducing bug or glitch you have had?
I know, real quick, just off the top of my head, I know that I had Pokemon saves disappear when I was in like first or second grade. And that's devastating. That's life-ending. I mean, even in first grade, I was ready to take my own life. Like that was like... No, but it seriously is like world crushing. You're like,
yeah,
I'm never gonna.
All that work's gone. But the difference is you have the time to then do the work.
Right.
Again.
Most recently, though, the last time I was really frustrated with a game not working, was Halo Master Chief Collection on launch day.
Oh man, yeah, that was a
Bad
toughie.
Times.
That was a toughie. I think mine's it's a really particular one because not a lot of people like the game. I kind of did, but it might have been because it was one of my first forays into the franchise, and especially in a long while. It was Hitman Absolution. I was really enjoying the game. I was nearing the end, and I remember my buddy telling me that, and this was true to some extent, is that on the 360 you could go into your hard drive and you could clear like a cache, and when you cleared a cache, like it did something. I was like a PC gamer on the 360 in a weird way. Like I was all about optimizing. Like I'd install all my games. You could run them off the disk, or you can install them. So I keep my system cooler. I would have it set up vertically with a fan behind it so the wind would be blowing through it. I was terrified of the red ring. I did everything to keep my 360 in tip-top shape, and I did. But I remember clearing my cache, firing up Hitman Absolution after about 12 hours with the game, really enjoying it, replaying levels, doing all the fun kills, and Dustin, there was no Agent 47 anymore. He was gone.
Shit.
Everything, all I did, gone. And I never got back and finished it. I watched a friend finish it because he was right at the same point I was. We were kind of playing it at the same time. And so I came over to his house and watched him beat the game, and I was like, all right, I guess that's the satisfaction I'll take away with completing it. And, here, I'll let Skooma know this. Skooma, it never quite leaves you unless you go back and finish it. Like, it still hangs over me a little bit that I never really finished Hitman Absolution. Do I care about it? Do I lose sleep about it? No, but when I bring it up, I'm like, I really got ripped off there. So just know that unless you want to live a life of that hanging over your head, you might have to go back and finish this. You might have to. So enjoy that.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Sir Kaz is up next. What's up, Matty and Dustin? One aspect of video game reviews from major websites that has always bothered me is how high review scores always are. Obviously, there's plenty of reason to dislike scoring games, generally speaking, but it's always just bizarre to me that a game receiving around a 75 on Metacritic is considered underwhelming or poor. As a bit of a film buff, I know in the movie world, a 75 is pretty darn good. I believe listening to reviewers you resonate with break down a game's pros and cons is far more valuable than Metacritic anyway, but I think it's an interesting observation nonetheless. I just want to know if this is something you guys have ever noticed, and if so, where do you think the different philosophy in film and games criticism comes from? Have a good one. Thank you, Sir Kaz.
I think the problem is too many game reviewers don't view it as a 10-point scale. They view it as like grading for school. So an average is a C, which is 70, around 70%, however your school did it. And that a B is 80, and then A is 90. And they really don't stray too far outside of that. Like, for example, we at Handsome Phantom did try to explore the scale a lot more. Like, my review of Control was a 7.5, which some people thought was bad. I was like, no. This is a slightly above average. Like, this is a pretty good game. I am frustrated with the way the story is told, and so I'm gonna knock it down for that. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is, but I was like, this is.
It was also pretty buggy at launch, if I remember correctly, or it didn't run well, so that likely factored in.
Right. The PC version was hellish for me for a little bit, but so yeah, that's my thing is that. I don't know why the industry kind of does this as a whole, it feels like.
I feel like Metacritic isn't as bad as people say if it's used the way I think it's supposed to be, is a gauge on interest. So if you see a 70, you might I guess it goes back to what Sir Kaz was saying, which is that it shouldn't be viewed as low. But if you can look at that and go, all right, it seems like there's something about this game that's worth liking, like at the bare minimum. Then you go to the reviews that, as Kaz said, break down the pros and cons of it. Like, I feel like it's a gauge for interest on whether or not you should check it out, maybe. Obviously, nothing better than doing your diligence and making sure you're just check out a couple trailers, see if the game speaks to you at all, and then going into those deeper reviews. But I personally just feel if you can use Metacritic scores to tell you, should I check this out or not? Not, how did it get a 75? It deserves an 80. It's like, who cares? See if you like the game.
Right.
Like that's the cool thing about games is you can find it's the only industry where you can find a 5 or a 6 that may feel like an 8 or a 9 for someone if it lines up with their tastes and they're able to accept certain things. And I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the thing is that, some games, there's such a thing as a bad game that is fun. That's something that I think is lost on some people is that, like, I've played bad games that I've had a lot of fun with. For example, I know it's a joke for me. I had so much fun playing Balan Wonderworld. It's fucking terrible. But
Sonic 06 is so much fun to me. I get that.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's something important to keep in mind.
Agreed. Millhouse is our next write-in. Salutations. After listening to the news lately, I know a lot of companies have been getting into trouble concerning issues related to people, example, Blizzard that you talked about last week. It has come out that these tech companies are wanting to group together to ban people off the internet they deem a certain group from gaming to public forums and even banking. So my question is, if they continue on this path of control, which will lead creation and individuality drought for gaming, movies, and basically all industry, so will indie and small developers break through, or will we have a dark age where creation and innovation seem to stand still? P.S. You guys make my 3-hour yard work mowing go by in no time. I've been a long-time listener, decided to stop putting money into TV and such and start supporting people I enjoy with monthly donations. Thank you, Millhouse. That's excellent to hear. So I don't know. Do you know anything about this? I'd never heard of this.
There's been some talk recently about like PayPal banning hate groups or something. And he may be referring to, this is separate and not as drastic, but there's talk about 6 Days in Fallujah people wanting that game to never be released. That shouldn't, people saying it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, definitely there's. I want to make sure I say this the right way. I think that all games have a right to exist. They don't have a right to be on platforms, right? Like, what was that game? There was a game that was like very intense. There's a few actually. There's a game called Replay or something that was what you would expect.
Yes.
And like, yeah, no shit, they're not going to allow that on Steam.
Mm-hmm.
If that guy wants to release it on his own website and some idiot's willing to pay him for it, I mean, I guess, but I feel like the market will speak to the fact that no one wants to play something like that. As far as like 6 days, it's like, let them try it and make the game. If it's horrible, then the reviews will say so and no one will buy it, hopefully. I mean, sometimes people buy bad things, Assassin's Creed, whatever. But that's, you gotta let people release things. We gotta let the market be creative. Again, I'm not saying like anything and everything will be allowed on PlayStation or Steam or whatever, but we walk a fine line when we start saying like certain politically charged games are not allowed, right? Like,
I think it sets a pretty dangerous precedent, I'll be honest.
It's a dangerous precedent, right? Let these games, if this game comes out and it's like 6 days comes out and it's really good, then maybe it's time to reflect about your own ideas and maybe you were wrong and that's okay. Or maybe it comes out and it's fucking horrible and they were right all along. But
at least we know.
We got to know, and now people can, releases. It's interesting how like releases are like a flow, right? You see a game like PUBG. A game like PUBG exists. It creates a ripple effect of all these other types of games that are like it, some good and some bad. A game like 6 Days may create a ripple effect of games that do try to do this documentary style game, or maybe they do try to tackle harder subjects. It's like we got to let people release things and inspire others, or not, or take the opposite. And it's the opposite of inspiration. I guess an example
hesitation.
Of don't do that. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree entirely. That's very well said, and I think just that freedom of expression is allowed, but platform holders can make the choices that they want to make. All right, next write-in's from Sean Mason. Hey, Ham family. My 25th birthday is a few weeks away. Growing up, I loved having my birthday party. Some of my favorite parties I had as a kid were a big sleepover with a lot of friends, driving 3 hours from Massachusetts to New York with my dad and a few friends to watch a Mets game at Shea Stadium, and then going to play Lasergate to play laser tag. I didn't know. Sean, are you a Mets fan? Because if you are, welcome to the family officially. With that said, what were some of your favorite birthday parties / memories from your childhood? Best, Sean M.
I've had a lot of great birthdays, but I'll just quickly say my parents had a birthday party for me at Aladdin's Castle, which was the mall at the arcade in 2001. And it was great. They got me a cookie cake that had a guitar on it. I don't know how they pulled it off because knowing now, looking back, my parents, there were parts of my childhood when we weren't like super poor, but we were definitely sometimes crunching for money. There's like this memory I have of my dad. He like had like this notorious CD collection, and there was a time that he sold a lot of it and like the really good stuff that he really liked. Like he took it to the CD shop and got a bunch of money because he didn't know like things were tight and he needed to buy groceries or whatever, and he did that. Yeah. And so it makes that birthday party a little more special knowing that they somehow were able to do that for me in first grade. And I remember it to this day.
It's funny you mentioned that. I don't know if you saw me smile when you said 2001 because I was in the same boat. It's funny you mentioned the financial things because my family's still in that position. Like my mom looks for jewelry to sell, and I'm like, no, like let me give you some money, and I try to help out where I can. But part of them, they don't want me in that similar position, so they don't want to take the money, and so it's tough. But I remember when I was young, same kind of situation of like, how did they do this? We went to a water park, and my entire first grade class was there. If I remember correctly, it might have been 2002, because I think that was when the first Spider-Man movie came out, right? If I remember correctly.
2002 sounds right.
Yeah, I don't know if it was
Spider-Man.
01 or 02, but I guess it doesn't matter. It's around that area. And we went to a water park, and my parents invited my whole class there. And so, like, everyone showed up, and everyone knew I was, like, a big Spider-Man freak, which I am to this day still. And so I remember coming home with, like, a fucking haul of gifts and opening them, and it was just, like, all Spider-Man stuff. I was, like, in heaven. And now those Spider-Man toys go for a lot of money online. It's wild. Like, I have action figures still that are, like, $100 from those movies that are just... And like not even in their box.
That's crazy.
It's kind of wild, right? Because I was looking them up the other night. Because it's funny enough, my friend sent me them. He's like, "You remember these?" I was like, "Holy shit, I do." That was one, and then my girlfriend and I just take each other out on like really nice days for our birthday. And one of my favorites was when she took me to like a drive in New York City. There's like this driving range. I forgot what district it's in, but it's like hitting it into, I think it's Chelsea Pier, I want to say, but you can hit it like golf balls into a pier. And we went to like a manga shop, and they had like all these different figures. And then we went to like a retro game shop. Like, it was just a day tailored to me and what I like, and it was awesome. So that was really nice too.
Yeah. Maddie, really quick, I just thought of it. You mentioned about random figures selling for a lot of money. So my parents are here right now. I mentioned that earlier. My dad, in his attic of their house in Virginia, they found these beer cans from the 1950s.
Oh.
My mom was like, "Oh, that's kind of interesting. I'm going to list it on eBay." She ended the auction. The auction ended yesterday. Over $500.
Wow.
From this 1950s beer can, because apparently it was like a local Virginia brewery. And the way they put stamps on the top for some kind of government thing. The person opened it from the bottom, so the stamp on the top was perfect. And I was like, holy shit.
Wow.
My dad's like, I'm about ready to like scrounge around in the attic. 'Cause they found it in kind of like a weird spot, like deep within like the storage part. And they found these beer cans from when these dudes in the 50s built this house.
That's actually kind of, that's so cool.
Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
It was just, I had to share that when you said it, because I thought that was just crazy.
That's amazing, man. I love that. That's so cool. All right, our next write-in comes from Cody Richter. Hey, Green Eggs and Ham. Over the years of gaming, I've noticed I have issues playing the same genre of games back to back. For example, I recently platinumed Ghost of Tsushima and then jumped into Saints Row 3 Remastered and platinumed that as well. 2 open world games back to back have cured that itch for a bit, so now I'm playing the Cold War campaign. I find myself having to jump from open world to shooter to turn-based to hack and slash. Do you guys have any game quirks like that? Maddie, you're obviously the RPG guy and can play those to the end of time, but do you ever have to switch it up for your sanity? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Otherwise, it's all about registration of information, right? Like, if I'm playing the same RPG, like not even same RPGs, if I'm just going RPG, like they start to glance, things that are unique that should be commended and recognized are not. And so it's important to break up that flow. It's why I'm a MOBA dork. You got that spice in the middle of your RPGs. Like, it's completely out there. Only type of game I don't play is a puzzle game, honestly.
Right. Yeah, you definitely have to change it up, and that's what makes it, dude. The problem with playing the same games, like if you play 2 shooters at once, is that usually the controls will be, 80% the same, but there's like a few buttons that are different, and you're like, fuck, it doesn't it doesn't work quite right. But I've done it, but I do not recommend it.
I agree. Yeah, it's definitely something that I like to change up every now and then. But then sometimes I get on a kick and, I played, granted they are 2 totally different games, but SMT4 and Judgment are Japanese style games, and the Japanese have just a particular type of development that you can sort of feel in their games. And so I try to be conscious of that, but I was in a big JRPG kick, and like I went back to back on those. And like I said, they are different games where there was a separation there, but yeah,
Right.
usually when I get an itch scratched, I do move on to something else. I remember before Danganronpa V3 came out, I was like, oh, I'm going to play 1 and 2 again. And I got through one of the very best ever. And I went into 2, played for about 30 minutes and kind of noped out of it. Not because I don't like to, just I was thinking to myself, I'm not really in the mood to play another visual novel for another 40 hours. I'm going to go play something else now.
Right.
All right. Coach Blue is our next write-in.
Your boy, Coach Blue. He writes in like every week.
Right? Yeah, a lot of these folks do. Cody Richter's a consistent one. Sean Mason is. So thank you to everyone who's always consistently there. You keep our show alive, honestly.
Yeah.
Because imagine if they didn't, right? Like, holy shit. We'd be fucked.
Well,
speaking of getting fucked, Coach Blue writes in, hello, Dustin. I've not addressed you directly in 6+ months since you told me to get fucked for my Ice Cube comments. I believe the time has come to let bygones be bygones. I'll drink a beverage with a single ice cube. If you will, in turn, drink a beverage full of ice. Must take a pic for proof. Looking forward to our newfound truce. Anyways, hope you guys are having a great day. What is a game that you are looking forward to playing on the Steam Deck? I love playing Planet Zoo as a Zen game on PC. The thought of playing that in bed on Steam Deck sounds like next level Zen.
Oh.
Next level Zen.
Well,
right.
First of all, I want to address Coach Blue about this ice comment. I'm going to say once again, get fucked, Coach Blue, with your, I'll do it once and then you do it. No.
You're not giving up any ground on this still.
No.
It's been like we kind of dropped the ketchup debate. Like we dropped a lot of our food debates entering the new year. And you're still standing your ground. This is a touchy topic for you.
Honestly, I can't even think of the last time I used ice in my house recently.
I use it for my seltzer. Sometimes my mom will get some seltzer. I like the Ascent seltzer, like a mandarin flavor, but it sits in the warm garage and it's like, okay, we're going to have to pour this into a cup and I'll toss an ice cube in there. I think maybe due to the carbonation, I don't know. I feel like this is something that Coach Blue or Sean Mason would write in, or Grimblade about, like, because they're brainiacs and they'll write in telling me why the ice cube breaks down quicker in a carbonated drink. But beyond that, that was the last time I used ice.
Bunch of fucking dorks writing in with their own something that I remember one of those. They were trying to explain about ice, how it melts slower when there's
more someone did. I do remember that. Yeah, someone actually gave us a full chemistry breakdown on it.
I don't agree. I've had enough. Game looking forward to on Steam Deck. Civilization.
Oh, really?
On Steam, which I know Steam, it's on Switch, but it's about the touchpad and using it like a mouse pointer. Will be very cool.
Yeah. So also, the Switch version's just not that great.
Holly has it. I bought it for her, and she's like, "It's definitely not as good, but it's good enough for me." I'm like, "Well,
good for her.
I'm glad you like it.
Good for her.
I couldn't do it.
I couldn't either. Good for her. For me, it comes out supposed to be getting in the winter. I am looking forward to playing Trails in the Sky on it. So, well, look, I made a deal. My buddy right now, he's playing Never. He's in your chat sometimes when you're doing FromSoft.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He's a big Trails Up fan. Like, I'm a Trails fan. This man is a Trails dork. Like, on another level.
Trails dorks. A lot of dorks this episode.
Yeah, honestly. I think it's just it's the word for, like, when you're just fucking obsessed with something needlessly.
Right.
He's a Trails dork.
Sure.
And he's played like all of them, like Azure, the fan translations, all the Cold Steel games, all the Sky games. Just played them all. He's looking forward to Hajimari no Kaseki, which is like the next one. Anyway.
Good Lord.
I made a deal with him. I love Final Fantasy IX. I played that for the first time this year, and it was fucking superb. Now, it's a very old game, and I know Never isn't crazy about that stuff. So I was like, all right, how can I get you in on this? And we were like, all right, let's strike a deal. You'll play one of my games, I'll play one of your games. He was like, if I play Final Fantasy IX, I want you to play Trails in the Sky. I was like, all right, I'm cool with that. You know, these are both about 30-hour games. They're both sprite-based. They're both older. I was like, all right, this is a fair deal. But the stipulation, I said, look, we're entering that busy cycle now. August is going to pick up. It's going to be a lot of new releases. And then we get into the holiday. I said, how about when the Steam Deck drops, that's when I play it? He was like, yeah, sounds good. So that's the first game I'm looking to play on my Steam Deck is Trails in the Sky Part 1.
Okay, not bad.
Beyond that, though, it's the simple stuff, right, Dustin? Like Fallout in bed. That's something a man has dreamt of, but has never achieved. Now we can.
Wow. So, that is, I didn't even think about such things.
Then again,
New Vegas.
I would have to get GOG because the Steam version of Fallout 3, I wonder what's going to happen with that. I wonder how that works. That'll be very interesting because it doesn't even work on PC with the Windows for gaming or whatever they did.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get like a mod for it to deactivate it or get the GOG version, which can sidestep it. But I'll be curious. I'm going to try out a ton of games on it for sure. I'm very, very excited on that. I wish it wasn't so far away. All right, next write-in. Lactose Intolerant 869. Hey, boys. I'm looking to buy a new gaming headset and would like some pointers/opinions. I was going to say which headset I currently have, but I don't know what it is anymore. Some Turtle Beach headset, and it served me for a good while, but I'm ready to replace it and maybe even upgrade. Do you either have a headset that you recommend or know to be high quality? Thanks for the great content, boys.
I mean, at this point, my main headphones are these Sony ones, which they're kind of expensive. I got these for $250. They're normally $350. And I use them for gaming, and I use this mic for when I do voice on PC, which I think these also have a headset in them. But Maddie, you're a big fan of the, what are they called? The HyperX clouds?
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, a bunch of folks responded in this podcast question section, and that was going to be my recommendation. I love the HyperX clouds. Big fan of them because for me, I'm a sound guy to some extent. I can pick up on little sound tricks and hear things on maybe a deeper level. Maybe I'm not Karak level, by the way. Not even close. But I can sacrifice a little sound for comfort. And the HyperX clouds can, like these here, these are my podcasting headphones because I probably got a 3-hour span before they start to hurt my head. The band just like presses down, really pierces the scalp. I don't like that. The HyperX clouds, still now over a year later, have not given me comfort issues, and they sound great, and they are affordable in like the $100 area. I think they actually might be cheaper than that. I want to say I got mine for $80. Really highly recommend these personally.
They're not affordable too, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I think I saw the HyperX at Target yesterday, actually, and they were like $80. They have more expensive ones too, but
yeah, they have like a wireless series that you can also get, which is I think in the 200s if you want that hands-free experience, which I'm going to invest in soon because this is fine here. I have one wire going straight to my monitor or whatever. The problem is at home I have a fucking shit ton of wires. It's like it's disgusting. And so if I can have less of that, and also it gets hooked on your chair when you're wheeling around. I can't stand it, man. So I need a little bit of a wireless solution. All right, next write-in comes from Athanaki. Howdy, gents. I've been listening to the podcast since just before Dustin joined and recently became a patron. Thank you. My question has to do with Nexus and their collections. So we actually talked about this individually in a video. With the rise of popularity in gaming and PC gaming in particular, I can understand the appeal, especially for newcomers, of collections and why they want mods archived. If they are wanting a streamlined modding process, having a missing mod mess up the load order could be a disaster. On the other hand, I can see why authors are concerned. As it currently stands, the authors are not beholden to Nexus and have final say on their mod. If, for example, they eventually make a game that is based on their mod, like The Forgotten City, which began as a Skyrim mod and released this Wednesday, the 28th, I'm sure that they would want their game, want to delete their free game so that people buy the end product. There are many other reasons why a particular author would want to remove their mod. I just want to give my shout out to that team. My question for you is, do you think that there is a workable compromise between Nexus and authors in regards to collections? Maybe authors can opt out of allowing their mods to be used in collections. Maybe Nexus makes it clear what they can do with the archived mods, or have a way for mods to be removed without completely messing up the collections. I hope that Nexus is able to become a welcoming place for both modders and authors again, as it has been my default modding site ever since I began modding and is my first place to go to while installing a new game. I wish you both a muggy, buggy summer's day spent outdoors with only tepid water without ice. P.S. As daunting as modding can initially appear, if you stick with it and learn different types, how different types interact, it can be almost as fun as the actual game. I have found nothing as frustrating or rewarding as working on a mod list for a week and having it finally work until you add the next mod you must have. Now, Dustin, I can play a little catch up for you on this. Do you not have any familiarity on what's happening with Nexus and its modding situation?
No clue.
Okay, cool. So it's a tough story to summarize because there is important context. Pretty much Nexus, I'm sure you're familiar with them. For those who aren't, big modding site, big modding platform. I would say the number one. Lead the charge for Skyrim, New Vegas, Fallout, amongst many other games. And so what happened was they introduced this new thing called collections. So when you install mods, you have this mod list, and if some things are out of order or certain mods aren't compatible, you can load in your game and go, what the fuck happened? And just keep tweaking with it. And just like Athanaki said, then you want to get another mod, and there's that question of like, will this break the list? And it's always kind of a touchy process. I think no matter how experienced you are, it's rewarding, like you said, but it can be very annoying. So their solution was, let's make these collections so people can download instead of individual mods and piecemeal them together and find out what works, curate a list that you can then download the entire collection, and it works entirely as a group. Like, this group of mods will work as a collection. So it sounds good, right? Like, sort of an easy process to get new modders in the door. The problem is that to make this process work, they're launching this new thing called Vortex. And through Vortex, they are archiving all mods. And if you don't delete them by, I want to say it's August 5th, they are on the website permanently. This goes hand in hand with some premium price changing they're making, where originally the main thing with the premium on Nexus, you could download everything for free. The only thing that they said was, amongst a couple of other things, but the most notable thing was you would have a quicker download speed when in premium. Right. Now they've escalated the prices in the name of, well, our site is expensive. We need to be able to run this. We have a content delivery network, yada, 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 which makes sense. They've kind of ran at the same price package for a while. Obviously, everyone's going to fight change to some extent, but they've really inflated this price tag. And they said they plan to add more to this premium product. Some are worried that once the mods are archived on the site, that some form of ownership will be then transferred to Nexus, and they will be able to sort of monetize the mods without the say of the modder because they had an opportunity to remove it. Now, here was the other issue, is modders were able to put in a letter to say, like, I want my mods removed. But originally it was all or nothing. All your mods go, none of them go. Then they had this new individualized form where it was like, you can remove select ones. And right now it's a situation where you understand Nexus and what they're trying to do. They're kind of the dominant mod platform. They're getting a little more aggressive. They're trying to be more profitable. But at the same time, they are making what I think is a feature that is very much being understated how convenient it'll be for the modding market. While as for the modders, it's really about agency over what they've worked to build. And of course, what he mentioned with the Forgotten City, where it can really become its own game. And you can monetize that in however way you see fit if you're able to. And I think it's about control of the product. One of the more notable mods you may have heard of is the Fallout 3 remake in Fallout 4. It's called Fallout 4 Capital Wasteland. And they've pulled out, and a lot of other notable modders have pulled out of this. And so what Athanaki is asking is, do you think there is a workable compromise between the authors, like the creators of these mods, and Nexus when it comes to these collections where they want to archive their mods permanently?
I guess I don't understand. Maybe you said this. Sorry, a lot of info.
It was a lot, yeah.
The Nexus mods are going to be made permanent, but I just don't. Why couldn't they go and delete something later if someone comes in?
Yeah, they're saying it's
like that
necessary.
Seems like a weird.
Yeah, Exactly. I think they're stringing it along to tie it into premium. That's my speculation. Because legally they could probably find a way. It's like, oh, well, it's archived, so now we have ownership of it, so it's our product to sell. Dude, I would not be surprised if they took it this way. They're claiming they need to have them archived for the new system to work.
Yeah, I guess it all just depends. I'm curious about what the original TOS is, terms of service for Nexus, and then this is the direction they're moving in, and I kind of see their approach. It's like, yeah, either you're on board or you're not, and so take it or leave it. And if this ends up being a bad decision, then they will lose their most popular modders and their premium service will fail. And then they'll have to figure out something else. Or a new site will rise.
Yes.
That, doesn't pull this kind of stuff.
It's weird because they were in such a good spot, it looked like, from the outside. Like, it was just, another day at Nexus. They just seemed to do really well for themselves. They revealed that they paid out like $750,000 in total to like modders in general through their donation system. So yeah, they're getting money into their site for sure. With just the amount of visits and ads that pop, I would be shocked if they are not making lots of money off of this. I would argue even like millions. But yeah, I thought that maybe the best way to find a middle ground for this could be like contracts. Like, we'll sign your mod to a 1-year contract that will keep it in the collection for that year. And then once that year's up, if you want to delete it or do what you want with it, you can. But for that year, we have it in our system. And then obviously the question is like, well, what if you pull that mod out? Does it break the whole list? Maybe just the collections are on like a yearly basis. It's like, okay, we're going to make this collection, contract all these mods. We have them for a year. We're going to put this collection out. And then once that year's up, these modders can do what they want with it, and we'll bring in another collection alongside it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a very complicated, messy situation, but it's not necessarily like evil is transpiring quite yet.
Right. Yeah. I mean, mods are so interesting too, just that there are people that have gone and made full games from mods. And so
Enderal.
I can definitely understand wanting to protect that.
Absolutely. All right. Thank you for writing in. Let's get into B. Pearson 2. Hey, Matty and Dustin. With the recent release of Ratchet & Clank, my nostalgia engine is running in overdrive. I found myself playing Jak and Daxter again, and I said Dexter because I read it that way.
Daxter.
Daxter. Come on, Pearson. And it made me curious if you ever think we'll see Jak, and he did it again, Dexter 4. I know 4 was originally scrapped, and Naughty Dog instead started on their brand new IP, which was The Last of Us, which was, mildly successful. So do you think we'll ever see Jak and Daxter, Dustin?
Not from Naughty Dog.
Yeah, definitely not from them.
Maybe from someone else, but even then, I would see PlayStation picking up other IPs to bring back.
Like Sly Cooper.
Before.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I actually think there would be more pull for Sly Cooper than Jak, personally. But
I agree. Not even because I know I'm a fan, but I agree that I feel like there's been as much Jak and Daxter as there was Sly, so this wouldn't make sense, but I feel like there's been enough Jak and Daxter. I feel that story's kind of done. When 3 ends, I don't recall thinking there would be more.
Right.
Then again, Sly's had 4 mainline games, so.
Right. I don't know much about. I mean, I played a little bit of the original Jak and Daxter, but I know they're supposed to be good. I'm guessing they're probably too dated now for me to go back, but maybe not. I don't know.
They're solid romps now, I would say. They're not as great as they once were. 3 definitely feeling the best. The first one, it's interesting, is the first one's just a straight up platformer. Then the second one, there's like, let's add guns. And it's a lot more open and impressive. And I think where the series got its legs. But yeah, I don't know if there's really much of a strong... I think I'll put it this way. I think PlayStation's going to bring back one of their older IP. With the success of Ratchet, I just feel like they got to be looking at Jak and Daxter and Sly Cooper and like wondering what can we do with these, because clearly people care about a mascot from the early 2000s and are still buying it. But which one they pick will be very interesting. So we'll see. Straw Hat Ninjas are next write-in. Greetings, Maddie and Dustin. Hope you're all doing well. I haven't had this happen in a while, but on July 27th, 2 games I really wanted to play released on the same day. Those games were The Great Ace Attorney Chronicles and Neo: The World Ends With You. This has happened to you in the past. How did you decide what to play first?
You got to go with whatever one you're most anticipated, because you're just going to be thinking about the one that you are less anticipated about. You know?
Yeah. I feel like
those are 2 games that would be complementary, because one's a visual novel and one's an RPG. So
so you
could
really
easily
bounce.
play both of those at the same time.
Yeah, if it's like what to start first, personally, just from looking at those 2, I would pick Neo. But I'm trying to think of a specific example, but I agree with Dustin in the idea that I just talked about at the top of the show, like with the Ascent and Neo: The World Ends With You. They launched in the same week. And for me, I started the Ascent because while Neo: The World Ends With You, it's just kind of a game that I can't believe exists. Like, it's just kind of wild that it's even out there. I was definitely more excited for the Ascent on a level of like, this is new, this is different, it looks really clean. It's like an indie game. There was a lot there that was calling my name with it, both nostalgia-wise and, like I said, modernization. So I would just tail off of what Dustin said and go with what really you truly most anticipated, because you can act like there isn't a difference, but there is. There always is. All right, let's keep going. We still got some more questions. Golden Goose. Greetings, gentlemen. Hope this finds y'all in good spirits. With the recent announcement of Dead Space Remake, I'm wondering how y'all will feel about the heavyweight horror game showdown we're about to witness. I'm referring to Capcom leaks that have all but confirmed we are getting a Resident Evil 4 remake. While I'm a huge Dead Space fan, Resident Evil 4 is my #1 game of all time. I think both series have massive potential. What are your thoughts? I'm ready for this throwdown. Take care, and thank you guys for making this week just a bit easier. It's our pleasure, Golden Goose. Thank you. What do you think of this survival horror showdown between 2 prominent games? And what's interesting, Dead Space 4 is really what gave birth. Dead Space 4. Resident Evil 4 is what gave birth to the first Dead Space, because Glenn Schofield played Resident Evil 4, really liked it, but he didn't like the breaking of immersion in the game. And so that's why with Dead Space, is, everyone's already seen at this point, the rig and the lack of HUD in the game was because when he played Resident Evil 4, he's like, I like how it plays, but I don't like how it breaks my immersion with health bars and all that stuff. So just a little interesting note there that they're about to face off.
Yeah, that's the thing to me, is that I'm like, I mean, they will be facing off somewhat, but I think that fans of these games are going to buy both for the most part.
I don't know. I don't know how there's a winner in this race, right? Like, maybe sales-wise, but I think most survival horror fans will just be eating good, picking up both of them.
Oh, yeah. I think that Resident Evil will probably be the better seller, if I had to guess, between these 2. Just because Resident Evil 4, man, is like, that's one of the, I mean, what's the word? Maybe not greatest game of all, one of the greatest. I mean, for many people, it is one of the greatest games of all time. But it's listed in that. It's one of the most well-known games. It is known as being a hugely influential game.
Yeah.
So that remake will be huge. But I don't know. I'm excited for both of them. It's cool to see a revival in survival horror these last few years, and so to see these 2 big remakes, some of the best in the biz, come back will be very cool.
Yeah, I've seen that between Resident Evil 2 remake and what was the other one? Final Fantasy VII remake. It's inspired a lot of other remakes in our industry. Like on paper, I've seen it, and it's like very interesting. Like pitch docs mentioning those games as strong, compelling reasons. So I think we're only going to see more of them as time goes on. I personally, not even as just a Dead Space fan, but I'm personally more excited for a Resident Evil or a Dead Space remake, because I want to see them get to 3 and see what they do with a Dead Space 3 remake, because that would be fucking wild. With Resident Evil 4, I actually bought Resident Evil 4, and I'm about to play it for the first time this year. I'm waiting for October. Little spooky game for October.
Spooky boys.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I want to play it then. I'm saving it for then. But yeah, it's going to be interesting going that for the first time and then seeing what the remake throws at me right after. Time will tell. I remember that being when it leaked. I want to say that was listed as a 2022 game. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, we'll see. That's one they got to get right. But
yeah,
their track record on Resident Evil is very good right now. So
as long as they don't do what they did with Resident Evil 3, which is good, but like obviously underwhelming after 2.
Right.
The Grim Blade is our next write-in. Question for Maddie, but feel free to provide your thoughts too, Dustin. As someone who reviews games, how does accessibility of Game Pass affect your decision to review a game? If you can just try out a game with your pre-existing Game Pass subscription, does it concern you that players might skip reviews and try the games themselves since the price barrier is so low? I have a solid career, so whether or not I play a game is more a question of time commitment and not money, but I'm curious to hear your overall thoughts on the impact, if any, this may have. Oh, wow. Great question. So since it was originally directed at me, I guess I'll take lead on this one. Yeah, I think for me, it's actually led to is it sort of opened the door where like normally I wouldn't make this video that I'm making. Well, today, Friday, as we record the show, I wouldn't normally make this video on the Ascent, but I'm going to because with it being in Game Pass, I think impressions are almost as valuable as the review because you're really asking yourself, should I download this rather than should I buy this? Where a full review is more recommended and appreciated. Kind of like what I did with Death's Door. Death's Door I made sure I beat because you're buying it. With the Ascent, as I said, I have not beat it, but you can download it, kind of run with my impressions and see how that develops for you. So yeah, it really, it's actually kind of the same where like, even though games are on Game Pass, like it's really about the most major impact you can have on the views and in term, yeah, that would be the income is the early access you get. Like it's there's no denying, like if you look at my channel, when you look at outside of Necromunda this year, when you look at when I get a game early and when I get a game and then review it after launch, there is like a fucking 80% drop off in views. It's just like you look at my Biomutant review, I think I hit 70K on that. And then you look at my Death's Door review, which I haven't even scratched 20K. Like it's a major difference. That's the biggest difference maker. Game Pass has gotten more people into gaming and more curious about games. So reviews are open for all types of games. So I would just say for me personally, and I want to hear Dustin's thoughts. Yeah, there's a, like, I also, yeah, let me add in one more game. Outriders is another one. I was able to do 10-hour impressions on that, and it was one of my better performing videos this year. And to me, that was when I was like, okay, cool. Like day one Game Pass games are great for the channel because like people are just interested. Should I download this? Not should I buy this? Where there is that level of, like you said, Graham, time commitment, but also money commitment. Now people can just see if it's worth a little bit of their time. Right. What about you, Dustin? Has anything changed on your end?
I would just say, I mean, I don't review games anymore, but maybe there would be some hesitancy with Xbox exclusive games, but if you're talking multi-plat, these games still sell millions of copies on PlayStation. Mm-hmm. Like look at MLB The Show, look at Outriders. Still a lot of people wanting to know if they should purchase these games,
right? Because
they're not on Xbox. So it's still, I would say, very much worthwhile to do something like that.
Agreed. Thanks for writing in, Grimblade. Good question. Brandon Stark is our next one. Howdy, Maddie and Dustin. Hope all is well. How do you two feel about playing or even purchasing Blizzard products after this recent story? Obviously, it's disgusting, and I'm upset after reading the allegations. However, my friends and I play Overwatch together almost every night. I'm waiting for them all to get on their computers as I type this right now. I feel weird knowing what happened behind the scenes while one of my favorite games was being worked on. However, I don't plan on buying anything else from Blizzard until I hear about a change in studio culture. My girlfriend is a longtime WoW player, pays the subscription, and doesn't intend to stop playing anytime soon, which is fine. That's her personal choice. It is very sad to me we all unknowingly gave money to a company that was tolerating such nasty behavior. At the moment, I will continue to play Overwatch with my friends since we all already own the game, but I do not want to spend any more money on their products for a long while. Thanks for reading, and I hope everyone has a great weekend. So I guess more of what we were talking about earlier. I think this is almost like a summary of the thoughts of the independent choices different people are making based off of it.
Right. And I will say, Brandon, you're doing good. And just in that, you know, he said his girlfriend, longtime WoW player, is not going to stop And he's like, that's her personal choice.
Yeah,
and that's
absolutely.
what we suggested earlier, is let people decide for themselves, and they maybe have a different opinion than you, and that's okay. I think Brandon is a perfect example of that.
Agreed.
So great job.
Yeah. Sorry, Brandon, we can't obviously go into yours more because we did for a while at the start of the question.
Yeah.
So I apologize, but thank you for writing in and taking the time to do so. Natural Calamities next. Greetings, Matty, the man with an office all to himself, and the man, Dustin, with a plan. Wait, Dustin, the man with a plan, the man who finishes those plans without delay and without impunity. Hashtag badass of the century.
Whoa, badass of the century.
Whoa.
I don't know. There's many things I would describe myself. A badass is not one of them, but I appreciate it.
He says, onwards to the questions that I am done. Now that I am done handing you a platter of confidence. First question. I have decided to give Fallout 76 another chance after much support from Matty. While the game is much better for me, and I'm enjoying what I am playing more than in the past, isn't this the problem? Why do companies keep going for this live service model if they very rarely work? Division 2 was fully there at launch, and the game still seemed to die out. Is the live service model just doomed to fail from the beginning? Should the trend move in the other direction? Why aren't we seeing more single-player DLC replace this old, washed-out trend? I think what's really interesting about this is Game Pass really saved 76 in a lot of ways. It's like one of the most popular games on Game Pass. And we talked about this with something like Avengers, which is, I got an email. They're like, we're having an all-access weekend where you can download it and play it just for this weekend. I'm like, just put the fucking thing on Game Pass and give the game something, right? But they're not. And so I really think it's like the live service model could work. I don't think people want to pay for it as much now unless you're providing something really quality.
Right. Yeah. I'm guessing, the live service, if you can even hook people in for 1 year and get them on a few DLC here and there, then I'm guessing the attach rate on live service games, if you can hit it, is much better than DLC for a single player game. And also, microtransactions and
you can effectively get someone to buy the game multiple times with one purchase.
Right.
So there's also that.
I spent $60 on Destiny 2 when it came out, and I've spent $40 on every expansion or around that. Some of them I bought on sale. So, but that's successful. But even think about something like The Division, where they got people for $60 at launch, and then maybe in 6 to 8 months they got them for another 20 or 30, and maybe a few cosmetics here and there. Whereas a single player game, maybe people buy it and then I don't know what the attach rate of DLC would be. It probably is highly dependent on the game.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think it's just there's too much money to be made where they're going to walk away from it, and there's still plenty more on the way, and I think there always will be.
Right.
Second question, final question of the show. It has been years since I started gaming, playing the first Halo with my father and sister, but it's been years since, and now all my father plays is Call of Duty, and he refuses to play any of the old gems he used to play with me. What is a way I could coerce him into spending time with me playing different games? Or is this an old dog who can't learn new tricks and he is doomed to die by the sword? I would love to take some tactics. How can he convince his dad to play games with him? I'm going to suggest cry. Right?
Yeah, that's a good effective strategy.
Start crying a little bit, make him feel that.
Is there any games that are maybe like Call of Duty that you want to play with him, and you can convince him like, hey, this is actually a lot like Call of Duty. Maybe you'd like it. But convincing him to play the old games, if he's not enticed by nostalgia, then
that's almost respectable. That's like his son and nostalgia combined.
He's like, fuck you.
Cannot get him off his modern mountain. He is living and dying there, man. That's wild. Yeah, you'll have to. I agree. Dustin's plan of attack, I think, is the best here. You're gonna have to go with some new stuff. Make sure that you're in there, you're in the cut, saying like, check this thing out. This is a new thing. Sell it to him a little bit. Battlefield is the COD killer. Get him on a little Battlefield.
Yeah, there you go.
Although that's online only, no campaign.
An important skill to learn in life, which this sounds. Some people use this to a negative way and manipulate people, but you have to appeal to people's interests. That's things work.
Yeah.
You don't go fishing. This is a thing from a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. You don't go fishing and put a piece of cake on the end because you really like cake. Fishes don't get, well, some fish might, but fishes don't give a fuck.
Probably don't. Yeah.
They want worms. So that's why you put worms on the end. Your dad likes Call of Duty. So you have to hook him with something that may appeal to him, not what appeals to you.
Very well
There's your
said.
life lesson.
Yep. Calamity, you'll be just fine. Your dad will play games with you. Show
Maddie
him this
likes-
segment. You wrote into a podcast and be like, Dad, look at this, man. I got guys on the job trying to help me out. Just play something with me, man.
Right.
Plead with
right.
him a little bit. Show him the product. And if the dad's watching, what the fuck, man? Play a game with your son.
What's wrong? Just play some Halo. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Silent
what the
Cartographer.
fuck?
Load that shit up. Halo 1.
Yeah,
Great time.
absolutely. Natural, thank you so much for writing in. And thank you to everyone else who wrote in on this wonderfully flexible episode of H.A.M Radio Podcast. Let us know if you enjoyed this format. Certainly, I enjoyed it. Dustin, did you enjoy it?
I did, and I
guess
have
it
an
would
idea
suck
for
if
the
you said
hashtag.
you didn't, right? Now that I think
Like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
I'm out.
yeah, if you
I'm
were just
done.
like, Maddie, I kind of
Maddie's a
thought this was
MOBA dork.
ass.
I was gonna say hashtag dork or MOBA dork, or just I think
Dork.
we did lots of we called lots of people dorks this
Yeah.
episode, so I'm thinking just hashtag.
I'm going to say
dork.
hashtag dork. I agree. I think that's a good
Now,
idea.
Maddie, I'm not going to a restaurant tonight as I normally. I'm always like, I'm going out the holiday, doing this, whatever. Tonight is food truck night
Oh,
in
again?
downtown Butler. So it's once a month. And so
I feel like I hear about it every fucking week.
yeah, it's once
I
a
think
month.
I'm just maybe I'm
so-
in like this Groundhog's Day effect where like every week blends into the last. So I feel like I'm hearing you talk about food trucks
Yeah.
constantly.
Maddie, I am excited when you're gonna be here, my
Mhm.
hometown. I'm arranging for a couple places to eat and some food.
Oh,
I'm gonna only the best for the boys.
wow. Let's
So
go. Dude, I'm excited. I can't wait.
we're planning. I gotta talk to Ben. He was the one that's gonna arrange it. But we're planning to have like a private room at this restaurant on Friday. That is my absolute favorite place to eat here in town.
Let's
So
go.
it'll
Is
be...
the whole Last Stand family going to be there?
So yeah, the Friday dinner will be the whole Last Stand family, and it's exclusive for Last Stand staff and significant other.
Mhm.
So
Let's go.
that's the one that we gotta, because it's at the restaurant. There's limited spots,
Gotcha.
but
Gotcha.
um,
That's going to be
it'll be
fun.
good.
I didn't know about
It'll be
that.
very good.
Awesome.
I was kind of toying around. I don't know how everyone's gonna feel after traveling. I was like dinner, and then I was thinking about inviting everyone over here to my place and just like hanging out. or
Certainly,
whatever.
I have nowhere to be, right? Like,
Right.
Go back to my
Well, we
hotel.
gotta
Okay.
We got to get the ladies together.
Yes.
I think that's important. Now, you said your girlfriend, she's big on anime.
Yes.
See, this could be dangerous if we get Layla, right?
Laylee. Almost there.
Laylee.
Halfway
Damn, I was
there.
so close.
You're right. Yeah,
We get
it's all right.
Laylee, we get Holly, and Micah. 3
Very unique
anime.
names in the bunch, by the way. Those
Yeah.
Those are all really unique. Sorry, go on.
I feel like there's an anime podcast brewing here.
Oh,
a
shit.
ladies anime podcast.
Imagine
between the three
that.
of them. And they like very different things. Well, I don't know what kind of anime does she like?
She likes Fruits Basket is one of her favorites.
Oh, her and Holly,
Yeah.
they're gonna get along. They're gonna get along.
That's the thing is I told Laylee about Dragon's Quest and how
Oh.
Holly's pacing of it. I was like, you two are gonna get along splendidly. She's like, are you saying we're gonna get along well because of how she played a game? And I'm like, there's so much that's just you can take away from that
Dude.
about the person.
Was Laylee like, oh, Fruits Baskets, it's ending this week?
No, she actually because the thing is that when she was moving, she had to like drop all of her current grinds and
okay.
stuff. But like she even has the manga for it. I got it for her as a gift, and like she
shit.
likes that. And so yeah, she's big on Fruits Basket. She has pajamas for Fruits Basket.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember one. Future Life, I want to say is what it's called. There's she likes the sense of discovery. Her favorite's One Piece though. That's her favorite of all time.
Holly watched several hundred episodes of One Piece, but is
So,
not
Yeah.
maybe like a third of it.
Yeah, I think Laylee got to 500, 600. Like she got deep. And then the psychopath she is. She started over.
Oh my God.
She
Wow.
took a break and she's like, I loved it so much. I want to start from the beginning. I'm like, why don't you just pick up where you left off? And I think she eventually did, but I was like, what? You just start over? That was wild. But I think she wanted a little comfort from that.
A Last Stand, ladies only anime podcast. Let's make it happen. No, I shouldn't have said. Now that I said this, people will actually be like, "Yeah, let's do it."
We're gauging interest. We're gauging interest.
Maybe we're not Last Stand product, but maybe we can make this happen some other way.
That'd be amazing.
Maybe just a one-off episode that we can just put out into the wild.
That'd be great. Just watch them get to know each other in real time.
Sure. Yeah, why not?
Awesome. I like this. It's gonna be a great weekend.
Oh, I'm excited.
All right. Well, thank you, Dustin, for joining me, as
course.
always. Thank you to the audience for joining us. We appreciate you, having you here, having you write in, and being flexible with us, of course. Thank you so much. And that'll do it for episode 312. Thank you once again, and we will catch you all next time. Remember your hashtag, dork. And until then, take good care of yourselves. Peace out.